Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is part 1 of our story. If you like this What If story and want to see part 2, let me know in the comments below. Before we start, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. Also, check the description for more great content and my playlist. This story was posted by 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐬𝐬 on Wattpad. Now let's start. Prologue. Daddy, whispered a small boy. Yes, my little bird. Can you tell me the story again? A chuckle came from a man dressed in black with odd stitches all over his face. Why, you've heard it so many times. You've practically got it all memorized already. Please, Daddy, the boy asked. Okay, can't say no to you, my little bird. He giggled. A long time ago, there was a boy named Izuku Midoriya. Deku's POV. I breathed as I ran along the coastline of the beach I had cleaned up from when I was training my body to be able to wield my new quirk. All Might was there too, sitting down on the sand watching the waves. I smiled. I've come a long way from where I began. He looked towards me. Oh, don't just stand there, gonna sit down or what? I nodded, sitting down beside him. You know, you don't have to follow me wherever I go, right? He said. I smiled. I know. It's just, seeing you around helps me focus on what I'm doing nowadays and helps me believe that I can become a hero. You inspire me more than anything. I glance at him before looking at the appealing scene in front of us. I want to spend as much time with you as I can before. I stop, looking down at my hands. Before I won't be able to anymore. All Might smiles sadly. Let's not think about that too much. I mean, I still have time, don't I? I glance at him. It's been a few months since Sir Night Eye's passing and All Might hasn't really talked about him. So referencing to his destined future. I sighed. Told you, you should have asked him to use his foresight on you again to see if your future has changed. He barked out an airy laugh. I'm pretty sure it already has, as you can see, I am here. I snickered. Yeah. I inhaled a large breath. We sat there for a while, just watching the waves. Sometimes, in these moments, I wish we could just stay like this forever. If only wishes like that could come true. Deku's POV. Everything seemed to move in slow motion as I fell. The calls of my friend, Kacchan, and some of Class 1A students reached my ears, but I couldn't tell what they were saying. It seems like my life was replaying in front of my eyes. Going from all the way to when I first met Kacchan, to bullying, middle school, meeting All Might, getting into UA, and getting to meet great heroes in person. And finally, to what happened 2 weeks ago. To say that was the worst day of my life is a straight-out lie. 2 weeks earlier I was running through the rubble of a demolished building, Kacchan just behind me. There has been an increase of suspicious activity ever since All Might had retired. Many great pro heroes have gone missing, some were found over time but they were all dead. We reached a small clearing in the area. It seemed like it was the place where 2 people had been fighting. But something about it gave off a familiar aura, and it wasn't a good one. I stopped running, examining the area for anything like survivors. The place still had dust billowing around, making it hard to see as well as breathing. I squinted through the fog, the rubble in the area forming an odd circle around what seemed to be a hole. After a minute of wandering around in the cloud of dust, I heard breathing. It was coming from near the outside of the circle of rubble. I glanced back, Kacchan nodding. He hears it too. We quietly crept through the fog towards the sound. 1. I jumped up over the small piece of wall still standing, getting ready to attack in case it was a villain. What I saw caught me off guard. I landed on the ground with a soft thud. Tears slowly swelling in my eyes. Kacchan stood still, his face full of emotion. I took a step forward looking at the man, once known as the symbol of peace, bleeding out right before our eyes. Blood was pouring out from his stomach where a large metal protrusion had pierced him. He had scratches everywhere. His clothes bloodied. It was easy to tell, he won't make it. Even if they could take him to a hospital, it would be too late. He was still breathing. He stared at us with sad eyes. I took a few more steps forward, before collapsing right in front of him. I stared at my hands, not being able to look up at him as my tears fell. I am sorry. I whispered out, barely audible. I failed to save you, I uttered out, trying to hold back the agonized cry I wanted to let out. He shifted, slightly. Young Midoriya. He rasped out, causing a wound on his neck to start bleeding. He reached a hand out to grasp mine. His hands were cold and shaking. I looked up, only to cry out a river when I saw his face. Remember? When the time is alright dash, he coughed, buildy splattering on his clothes. Why you'll tell the world that you are. Silence. I opened my eyes, which apparently had closed. I stared at him. The light in his blue eyes fades away. He lets go of my hands, falling limp. All Might was dead. I couldn't hold it in anymore. I openly sobbed. Trembling, I wrapped my arms around him, locking his body in a tight embrace as I cried into the crook of his shoulder. I heard quiet sniffing behind me. I ignored it and kept crying my eyes out. All Might. Minutes later, other heroes and the police arrived. Kacchan had to pry me off of All Might's body. I watched as they took him away. I couldn't stop crying. I hugged Kacchan, tightly, like my life depended on it. Surprisingly, he didn't push me away. Instead, I felt him hug me back. I buried my face in his chest as I continued to cry. Soon enough, I passed out. A few days later, life was far from normal. It seemed like the world was in a depressed state because of All Might's death. They held a memorial after the burial. It was one thing after another. Next thing I knew, we were going back to school. I walked up to the gate, mind buzzing as usual. Okay, so what are we going to learn today? Will it be any different from when he was still here? Are we getting a new teacher to replace him? Who will it be? Are they canceling the hero class? Will we have a free day today? Watch it. Someone snarled as I accidentally bumped into them. We were in the middle of the hallway entrance. Sorry. I uttered out, looking down at my red shoes. I'm so tired. He gave me a look of disgust. I looked down on myself. I probably have my hair messed up again. Or my eyes look like something out of a horror movie. Really? You're sorry? Will sorry change anything? He shouted at me. We started getting the attention of most of the students in the hallway. Not always a good thing. I winced. It doesn't hurt to apologize, right? I mumbled. He glared at me. You think apologizing will be enough over what you've done? What is he talking about? Did I do something to offend him by accident? What did I do to get him this mad? Look, I'm sorry if I offended you or dash. He shoved me to the floor. I winced again. I looked up to see most of the other students either glaring or laughing at me. What the F is going on here? What are all y'all extras doing? I hear a familiar voice say. I look up to see Kacchan. He looks annoyed until he sees me on the floor. Here to save your little friend. The guy sneered. Everyone in the hallway snickered. Seconds later, a loud explosion was fired. Most of the students ran in fear, while others stayed, glaring at Kacchan, looking for a fight. 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐬𝐵𝐲. The guy smirked, as few others surrounded him. He smiled. Come on, fight me you demon extras. I can take you all on. He shouted. I got up slowly, trying not to interfere when I heard loud footsteps coming toward. Everyone, get to class before I expel all of you. A bored voice said. I turned to see Mr. Izawa. He was wrapped up in his sleeping bag again, so he looked like a giant caterpillar. Although some say he's a Cheeto, but yellow. Right on time. I sighed, grateful that Mr. Izawa had gotten here before something bad had happened. The other students quickly ran off to class. I glanced at Kacchan. He didn't look too good. Ever since All Might's death, he hasn't really been the same. Right now, he looks like he had been awake for days without sleep. His hair was spiked up as usual, but it looked oddly dull. As well as his eyes, there wasn't much of that fiery passion in them anymore. He's also been, well, I guess you can say nicer. He doesn't yell at me anymore, nor does he really talk to me at all. Come on, you two problem children, Mr. Izawa said, walking to class. Actually more like rolling. We followed behind him. When we got there, things weren't exactly what I was expecting. Some people were glaring at us as we walked through. Others just ignored or continued talking. All right, everyone back to your seats, Mr. Izawa said. Everyone quickly rushed to their places as class began. Time skip, Brought to you by my lazy butt. Lunchtime. I was walking to the cafeteria. For some reason Uraraka and Ida had decided to go ahead without me. So I was walking alone, with an angry ash blonde behind me. As we walked, I heard other students follow along. I also heard snippets of their conversion. Oh, it's those two dash. What are they still doing here? Dash. Villains, I tell ya, they don't belong here dash. Who were they talking about? I glanced behind me to see a few of the other students staring back, then looking away. A loud snort echoed the hallway. Watcha looking at. Demon extras. Kacchan yelled at the other students in the hallway. They moved further away from him. The space around him, that was usually taken up by Kirishima, Denki, or Mina, was devoid. I can't help but feel like this was somehow my fault. Oop, time skip again. After class. Everyone seemed to avoiding me and Kacchan, since they had left the room as quickly as possible. Not saying a word to any of us. Well, except for the man in a sleeping bag, who was now rolling out the door. Also, during class, Kacchan had his head down for almost the entire time. His hair was covering his face, so you couldn't tell if he was paying attention or not. He didn't even talk at all during class, which would be unusual for anyone in this group. I put my last notebook into my bag and began to walk out when I felt a hand on my shoulder. I turned around, knowing who it was. I steadied myself for possible shrieking. Kacchan. Need something? I asked. I shut my eyes tight, bracing for anything. After a few seconds of not getting my face blasted off, I cautiously took a peek at him. He was looking at the ground, his face showed no emotion. He seemed to be shaking, along with opening and closing his fists. Kacchan. What's wrong? I asked. He didn't respond. After a bit of just standing there and staring, he let out an odd sound, as if contemplating on whether to talk to me or not. He finally looked up at me. To say I was surprised would be an understatement. His eyes were red and seemed to be a bit swollen. His bottom lip was bleeding, perhaps from him chewing on it. But what surprised me the most was the bruise on his forehead. I gasped. Oh my God. Kacchan, what happened? He didn't say anything and went back to looking down at his shoes. I gripped his shoulders and shook him. Please tell me. Who did this to you? I asked again, shaking him more vigorously. Who could possibly beat him like this? I mean, I know he could be a JRK at times, but seriously. Now that I look at him, his collar had been pulled up. His sleeves were also pulled down all the way to his wrists, as if to cover something. I reached for his arm, but he pulled away. I didn't know what to say. Why would someone do this? Then again, how many people were strong enough to take him on? Or even have the guts to do so? Even then it would be hard since he'd fight back. Unless someone else has a quirk stronger than death. I snapped out of thoughts. I waited for him to say something else, only to be engulfed in a hug. Startled, I stumbled backwards a bit, but I managed to stable myself. Kacchan. What the heck is going on? Shut it, nerd. His grip got a bit tighter, making me wince. Kacchan, why you're holding me too tight? I wheezed out. He loosened his grip, but still kept me in a tight embrace. I'm sorry. Then he said something else, but I didn't hear it. I decided not to ask him about it, 'cause of the current state he's in, so I just waited for him to let me go. When he did, he quickly grabbed his stuff and left the room. Shocked, I just stood there for a few minutes, thinking about what had just happened. Then I left the classroom. It was the weekend, so I decided to visit my mom. I haven't really seen her much these past few days, ever since. What happened? I mostly stayed in my room crying my eyes out. On my way out, this time I was surrounded by a few other students. I didn't recognize any of them. One of them took a step towards me, grinning from ear to ear. Let's teach him a lesson, he said to his friends. My eyes widened. I took a few steps away from him, only to be grabbed by someone from the behind. I tried activating my quirk, but nothing happened. One of these guys has a quirk like Mr. Izawa. I started struggling, not being able to move my arms at all. Oh no. A few minutes later I lay on the ground, beaten. They had dragged me to a secret area somewhere outside the school, just to beat me up. I had BLD running down my forehead, my stomach hurts from getting kicked, and my legs feel like they've been run over by a car. Tears flowed through my eyes. What did I do to deserve this? Luckily, someone had came and saved me from most of the damage. But I don't know who, since my eyes were swollen and my vision was blurry from crying. All I remember is strong arms lifting me off the ground and carrying me somewhere. Then, everything went dark. I opened my eyes. It felt like I've been asleep for hours. Actually, yeah, maybe I have. There, that should do it. Now, boys, you shouldn't get into any more fights. Especially this violent. I heard a voice say. I looked towards it to see a familiar old lady, with a hat that had a needle on it. What happened? I croaked. My throat felt raw, possibly from my crying or perhaps the choking. Recovery girl looked down at me. Well, you'd had gotten into a fight again. Must have bust you up so badly that you forgot what had happened. She turned away. Katsuki, may I ask why you decided to beat the poor boy? Wait, Kacchan. If you don't want to tell me, at least apologize. I'm going to have to inform Izuku what had happened. Don't do this again, or the consequences will be worse. After she left, I heard footsteps coming toward my bed. Leonard, you all right? Kacchan asked. I don't know, what does it look like? I'm in the recovery room lying on a bed for God knows why, and I don't even know what happened. I frowned. He let out a loud snort. Lucky I found you though, or else you could have been beaten to pulp. Why? What do you mean why? I mean, why are people different? It wasn't really a question. I don't think I even phrased it right. Maybe there's nothing wrong with them. Maybe it's just me. You're mumbling again. I shook my head, giving an apologetic smile. Sorry, Dash. So you don't know yet? Don't know what? Is there something I should know? Did we learn it in class? Is this a prank or something? Or am I missing something and someone will tell me? Is this a test to see if I can figure it out? Is this a punishment for doing something wrong? I don't really remember getting in trouble or anything. I'm pretty sure that I didn't break any rules. Do you know what I did wrong and why everyone's acting so different? Or am I just dreaming and I dash? A loud slam made way through the room, making me jump in my spot where I'm sitting. I turned my head towards him. He was covered in bandages, I guess from what had happened earlier. He had slammed his hand against the wall, using his quirk to make a loud boom sound in the room, leaving a scorch mark on the wall. I stared, a bit shocked, so I remained silent, looking down at my hands. He sighed, putting his hand down. Deku, I didn't say anything about this earlier since I thought you weren't in this problem. Since you didn't start. You know. But I was wrong and now this happened. I stared at him. That did not make any sense. All I got from that was that there is a problem and I'm now in it. He groaned, face palming. For a nerd, you really are an idiot. I was hoping you'd understand so I didn't have to say it. He looked up at me, staring me right in the eyes. People are blaming us for All Might's death. Still Deku's POV processing. What? I cried. Kacchan's hand slapped on my mouth, muffling my outburst. After a few seconds, he removed his hand, giving me a harsh glare, but the anger did not reach his eyes, as if he agreed with me and wanted to do the same. He probably does. Yeah, I don't understand either. Those extras are idiots. I figure that they were upset and wanted to put the blame on someone to ease their anger. Little SHDS. He said. Is that why everyone's acting weird? Because they hate us now. Not everyone. Some people don't believe that stupid idea, others are still deciding, like pink cheeks and glasses are still deciding on whether or not they should talk to you. I nodded. Then it hit me. Is that why you were covering your injuries earlier? When we were in class, were those from the people that thought we caused All Might's death? I asked quietly. Did they do this to me too? Of course, he was silent. It was a smart idea to go to Recovery Girl for healing, but we're not going to use that same excuse over and over again. After a few more beatings, what will we do then? My eyes glistening with tears. The way I coped with this, trying not to cry, was thinking about what had happened to All Might. But now that he's gone, that adds to a large amount of self-hate and guilt, as well as tears. This was why I was so cheerful like normal. Just imagine everything's fine. When I know it's not. I rubbed my eyes with the back of my hands. Deku. He mumbled. I ignored him, grabbing the pillow I was resting on and stuffing my face in it to muffle my crying and hide my face. Let's be honest, I look disgusting when I cry. Look, I'll promise you something. From now on, I won't leave your side. If you ever need help you can come to me, and I'm only going to say this once. We'll stick together like the friends we were and now are. He said, sounding like he forced out the last part. I looked up at him from my sad tear-stained pillow to meet his dull eyes. He seemed bored, but the fiery passion had returned in his eyes. Well, momentarily. I smiled. So you do consider me as a friend, Kacchan? He grunted. Don't push it, nerd. He said, sounding annoyed. He turned away, but not fast enough for me to see the smirk on his face. I'm going to summarize the rest of the few days' cause. It's been like 5 days since we made up. I don't know what to call it. Everyone seemed to hate us like we're worse than any villain they're ever met. I've confirmed that they actually think we ended All Might, possibly for fame since we were the last ones with him and will be seen on TV and stuff like that. There actually has been a news report on it, which in turn helped with the hate we've been receiving. Followed by a whole Twitter thread dedicated to hate comments. Kacchan's always with me now. It's like we're best friends again. Shoto is actually one of the few people that still talk to us, along with Shinso Hitoshi and Mei Hatsum. Most of the class is still debating. Mina and Kirishima are among the few people who still treat us as friends. Uraraka and Ida are among the people that are still debating. What kind of friends do this? Shouldn't they be like Mina and Kiri? Who am I to judge? I'm the so-called villain. The big three also occasionally stand up for me. Well, more like two, since Mirio doesn't have his quirk back yet. But, due to their work studies, they're not around as much. Most of the class ignores us. The teachers don't seem to know about whatever is happening. Only Aizawa-sensei has said anything about it. He even one day gave me and Kacchan permission to leave the classroom or go home if we wanted to for the day. He's gotten a lot stricter, but treats me and Kacchan like his children or something. Nowadays, the people that me and Kacchan have gotten the most hate from have become more aggressive, looking for fights everywhere they go. Other students too, most of the students agree and even encourage it, others still just ignore us and don't really participate in the bullying. But they do support it. Recently, me and Kacchan have been to Recovery Girl's office more than 30 times. She now knows the cause of this and has informed Aizawa-sensei. He sent us home for a day to inform our parents. My mom was in tears for a few hours after hearing that, adding to the guilt I felt. A few more days later, people on the streets start glaring and even shouting at us. Not all of them, obviously, but most. The rumor is that we had arrived at the scene of All Might's resting place and planned his murder along with the LOV, aka the League of Villains. I have no idea where that CRP came from. It's just a rumor I had heard that is spreading like a wildfire on Twitter. Kacchan even told me that himself. After a while, I started feeling I don't know what to call it exactly, but I haven't felt like this ever since that day where All Might told me I couldn't be a hero. The feeling of helplessness and constantly feeling empty. I don't know why, but I don't feel like hanging out with anyone. Only Kacchan. Then this happened. Hey Midoriya. I looked up from my book I had been reading for the past hour, searching for the owner of the voice. Someone with purple hair was waving at me from the other side of the school garden. I smiled. I was about to reply when, he doesn't really want an answer, you know. Just get over there and ask him what he wants, so he can be on his way and doesn't have to waste his time on you. I blinked several times. What was that? I shook my head. Probably nothing. I got up and walked over to Shinso, putting on my signature smile. Shinso-kun. Nice to see you. Do you need something? Wow, that rolled off the tongue awkwardly. I was wondering if you'd like to hang out with the gang, you know, Mina, Kiri, and Mei. You could bring Bakugo along too. He said. I nodded. Sure, where will we be meeting? Just in front of the school, after classes. Mina wants to go shopping, so we'll probably be heading to the mall. He said, rubbing the back of his head. The mall sounds great. I'll inform Kacchan about it. Are you sure they invited you? Maybe he just wants Bakugo to go, not you. Oh my god, shut up. I mumbled. What was that? I realized I said it out loud. Nothing. I'll be going now. CYA after class. I said, waving as I ran off with my book in hand. He now thinks you're weird. You have hurt his feelings by running off. Congratulations. You lost a friend. Or you. Why are you telling me this? I'm not even sure if it's true. You sound like Kacchan. WTF. You swear as well. I'm an innocent little bean. I have not swore ever. 2, 1. Bang. I landed on the floor with a thud. That's why you should watch where you're going, idiot. I rubbed my forehead. Remind me not to get lost in thought while I'm running in the school. Ignoring his last comment. Why would I do that? I don't care if you fall down the stairs and break something. Actually, if I were you, I'd do this more often. It'll make everyone happy. You could even take it one step further. Seeing as your mind has been going. I winced. Luckily the hallway was empty, or else everyone would be staring like I was crazy or something. Perhaps even laughing. Laughter is a sign of happiness. You're a hero, aren't you? You want to make them happy, right? Yeah, but not like that. I got up from the ground, picking up my book on heroes and walking towards my dorm. I want to save people, not show them how weak I am. If they see a hero that's trying to save them hurt, don't you think people would be scared? As I walked back to the dorms, I heard loud voices behind me, familiar voices. I started to walk faster, hopefully getting far enough for them to not notice me. Hey look, it's the villain kid. I heard a shout. I broke out into a full-out run to get to the safety of the dorms. Sadly, they were too far out of reach. My eyes slowly open. I was lying against the wall where I was left after a massive beating, one in which caused me to pass out. My uniform was dirty and covered in blood. It reminded me of All Might. The odd feeling returned, but this time it made me feel happy for some reason. I looked down on what I could see of myself. It seems like my legs are covered in bruises, the same goes for my stomach. I also got a bruise on my eye, which is swollen. Blood is dripping through my mouth, leaving a metallic taste. It tasted good. My right arm. I can't really feel anything in it. My left arm though. It seems to be fine, for the most part. My book lay somewhere just out of reach, next to the not-so-broken hand. It was ripped to shreds. Tears rolled down my face. Heroes don't do this. What kind of heroes are they going to be when they grow up? What kind of hero does not stand up for themselves when getting bullied? I looked down, knowing why I didn't fight back. I don't want to hurt the so-called innocent. Well, we both can agree on one thing. They're not as innocent as we thought. I leaned my head against the wall. Too tired to move. Nobody is going to come for you. I strung my hand over my waist to cover the bruises on my stomach. This reminds me of our conversation we had earlier. Why don't you just go and, well, end this SHT hole? Want to? I mean, you got nearly nothing left. Staying here is more like a prison than an actual school of heroes. Like, can't they tell if someone's in danger? Obviously not when someone is struggling right under their noses. I gritted my teeth. If I were T to kill myself, what would H happen coughs to those W who cared for me? They'd probably be happy, don't you think? One less useless person they'd have to look after. Especially your mom. Why do you have to be so negative? Do you want my life to be a living hell? It's already at rock bottom. So what do you want from me? I was faced with silence. After a minute, I felt something tugging in my mind. I panicked as I felt a dark cloud cover my vision. It's all right. Just relax and I'll help you out of this. You can rest while I take care of everything. My eyes became droopy. I was skeptical, but what other choice did I have? I let myself drift off. POV listening to what the boy had said, I had decided to change tactics. Right now, he sees me as a JRK who loves to see him in pain. I was hoping that at my words he would fight back and do the opposite of what I was saying and prove me wrong. But nope. I slowly gained control of his body, while pushing his mind back to rest peacefully without waking him up. I slowly got up, feeling the body reek with pain. I lean against the wall, hissing as I pressed against my bruised back. What type of heroes would do this? Being honest, I care for the boy. The whole entire point of my being is to protect him, though I do it rather differently. What I said earlier, I was hoping the boy would show his fighting spirit and prove everyone wrong once again. But he just went along with it, and politely disagreed with me. I limped towards the dorms, hopefully someone can find me. Unless they're JRKS or an idiot. It appears that classes were over, meaning most people would have either left to do something with friends, or are in their rooms doing homework. Well, that's just great. I'm going to have to bring this kid all the way to Recovery Girl's room. I wonder how long that'll take. Where the F are you? I winced at the sound of that well-known voice. I stumbled to where the source of the voice was coming from. After a bit of trying not to fall flat on my face, I saw a group of people. A red-head, purple-haired dude, Pinky, and an angry Pomeranian. I didn't have to say anything as they rushed towards me/Deku. I let go of my grip on his body, making it seem like he passed out. This is going to be a fun conversation later. A while later, Deku's POV waking up again felt like I was falling through a frozen lake. I gasped for breath sitting up quickly, like I haven't breathed in forever. Breathing hard. Now you're alright. Just calm down, you need to rest. I looked around, once again in the familiar nurse room. The nurse lady herself was standing right beside the bed. I'll inform you friends you're awake, now lay back down. You'll need to get your energy back up. She then left the room. Good morning, Sleeping Beauty. How'd you bring me here? Let's just say it wasn't easy. Footsteps were heard moments later, racing through the hallway. The door burst open. In its place was a very tired Kacchan. My eyes lit up. Kacchan. I was cut off when I was brought into a tight hug. This is still so weird for me. Iker not helping. He pulled back, still gripping my shoulders. I'm so glad you're okay. You've been out for almost a day and a half. You got the gang worried sick UDMN nerd. He said. I scratched the back of my head awkwardly. Well, you know it's not exactly my fault. I'm sorry I worried you though. He sighed. Why don't you stand up for yourself? I know you can. I looked down at my legs. I don't know, I just can't bring myself to hurt them, even if I'm just defending myself. I figure I deserved it. He flicked my forehead. What was the dash? No one deserves to be beat up like this. He gestured towards the bed I was sitting on and all around the nurse room. That's not what you thought when we were in middle school. I mumbled. He was silent. My eyes widened. Wait. I didn't mean it. It's fine. You're right. He said, looking down and letting go of my shoulders. Way to ruin the mood. Again, not helpful. And who said I was supposed to be helpful? I sighed. The past is in the past. I didn't mean to bring something like this up. All that matters is what you're doing now. I said. He nodded, still not looking up. Footsteps echoed the corridor. I looked up to see Uraraka and Ida. I tensed up when I saw them. Kacchan seemed to notice and got up, turning around facing them, pulling me behind his back in the process. He acts like a bodyguard. Uraraka took a step forward, reaching a hand out, her mouth open as if she were about to say something, but no sound came out. Ida just stood there, looking at the ground in shame. What are you extras doing here? Kacchan said. I looked at my hands, not wanting to make eye contact with them. Midoriya-kun. We're sorry, Midoriya. Is that what you call me now? I thought you were my friend Uraraka-san. Same goes for you, Ida. After how many days of you ignoring me, you finally have the nerve to try and have a rational conversation. I look up at them, surprise showing on their faces, along with shame. I'm sorry, Deku-kun. We just didn't know how we felt about it. Uraraka said, Ida still looking ashamed. You know, if you were in my shoes, wouldn't you think I'd have your back through all of this? Shh. I said, smiling sadly at them. Kacchan seemed to be keeping a stern face, but I could practically hear him laughing his butt off on the inside. Same as you. Ochako and Tenya, we are no longer friends. If I were to talk to you again, I'll treat you like a stranger. Maybe then we'll have a chance to start over. I said, closing my eyes, facing the other side of the room. Soft crying could be heard from the door, along with a loud sigh. I'm sorry, Deku-kun. I just hope someday we'll be friends again. She then ran out. Kacchan moved from in front of me to the chair that was apparently beside my bed. Ida then bowed down like he always does. standing straight again a few moments later. I respect your decision. I hope I'll be able to earn the privilege of being called your friend once more. He then bowed and left. Formal. Do you think I went too harsh on them? No. I think you should have left and scolded their sorry buttes. I bet they expected you to give them a second chance right away. I mean, you did give them a second chance, but one they'd have to work for. I give you that. Kacchan shifted slightly, looking up at me. I almost thought you were going to give them no thought about it and become friends in like seconds. But, wow, that was rather impressive for a nerd. He smirked. I huffed. Well, if I were to defend myself, I gotta start somewhere. He snorted. Of all the people you pick, you choose glasses and round face. Your once close friends. But they weren't my childhood best friends. I said, smiling as he smirks too. After that, Ida and Achiko had actually started talking to us. The group was also now targeted by others, which got me thinking it was my fault again. Nowadays, I keep my distance from them, only hanging out with Kacchan. The other students have become much more aggressive again, seeming to attack us, physically and mentally, at any chance they get. Even the people that used to ignore us, they also began to show their anger. Of course, me and Kacchan would defend ourselves. Mainly Kacchan. Along with the others, even after I told them not to since they would get hurt. The teachers didn't seem to notice since they were concentrating on a special case related to All Might's death. Each passing day, the attacks became much more frequent and deadly. Soon, we couldn't fend for ourselves anymore. This is including Kacchan. He isn't able to fight back anymore because of how aggressive they've become. Mr. Aizawa had decided we should go pack our stuff and sleep at home now, instead of at the heights. This worried me, since my mom would see me come home every day with more injuries than the last. To see her cry always broke my heart, making me feel empty and... Few days later, it was the weekend. I walked home alone, ignoring the shouts of torment and hatred that filled my ears. I looked at my red shoes to avoid looking into anyone's eyes, feeling their glares as I walked past. When I got into the house, it was eerily silent. I'm home. I called out, putting my bag down and taking off my shoes. The apartment was cold and lifeless. I walked through the rooms, searching for her. Mom. I called out again. No response. Weird, her shoes were in the front, she should be home. He finally reached her room. You in there? I'm coming in. I said. I hesitantly opened the door. A creeping feeling through my bones got me shaking. Izuku, you're not gonna like what you see. I opened the door part way, not enough for me to see inside. I start shaking, I gulped. Preparing for the worst. I opened the door. My heart dropped. In the middle of the room lay the lifeless body of Izuku Midoriya. I stumbled toward her, BLD soaking the small mat she lay on. I sat beside her body, pulling her towards me as I cradled her head in my arms. Tears falling down onto her soft cheek. She had a gash in her side that was leaking BLD, along with scratches all over her arm. Knife wounds. Her eyes were still open, but all the light in them had left. He closed her eyes, choking back a sob. The empty feeling he felt consumed him. Izuku. The voice yelled, but I couldn't hear him over the bubbly sensation that came over me. I started laughing. BLD dripping from my hands, I just laughed harder. Almost there. Just on the edge. Minutes later, the police had arrived at the scene. Someone said they heard loud, maniac-sounding laughter coming from the house, unsure of what it was. They called the cops. WTF. When they got there, they took Inko's body and questioned me. I, of course, answered to the best of my ability. They then left, telling me that they were sorry for me and that they'd investigate this mysterious case. Since I was old enough to stay at home by myself, they let me be. The next day. WTF am I doing with my life? I woke up, still in my uniform since I didn't change after what happened yesterday. There was still a lot of BLD all over my clothes, but I didn't care. I went to the washroom and looked into the mirror. You look like a such. He was right. My normally green messy hair now had a darkened tint to it, like dried BLD. My eyes were puffy with dark bags under them. I had bandages on my face too, due to the constant beatings at school. Something that was new, his eyes seemed dead inside. He looked closely in the mirror to find that his eyes were flickering, from its original bright green to a blinding bright red. I looked like I just murdered someone. I looked down at my hands, they were covered in dried blood. The sick feeling was still flowing through my veins. It felt bad. I decided that I should go back to the dorms since everything here reminds me of my mother. Maybe I could see Kacchan. I smiled. It was Sunday, so hopefully most of the UA students are off doing stuff elsewhere. Gee, how wrong I was. The looks of horror on their faces when I walked through the door, I didn't even try to hide it. I was still wearing my uniform, just with a jacket hanging loosely off my shoulders. I kept my head down to help avoid their stares. "Che, you freak. You killed someone." A voice yelled. The guy ran up to me along with a few others. He leaned down toward my face. He was about to say something when I looked at him directly in the eyes. He lurched back, falling backwards on his behind. A look of horror plastered on his face. I just let out a small giggle, smiling down at him sweetly. "I hate you. Fun fact, you look like a murderer." Is that supposed to funny? No, apparently I'm Captain Obvious. I looked toward the other students, who cowered under my gaze. "Villain!" a girl shouted, and all the students scrambled to get out of the hallway. I couldn't help the giggle that came out from my mouth. Time to see my friends. I walked toward the dorms, taking the long route. Meaning, walking through the entire school before going there. As I entered, the conversations that were happening had died down when they felt my presence. Kirishima and Mina were the first to speak. "Hey Midobro. You alright?" he asked. "Midoriya, you're covered in blood," she gasped. Running over to me and grabbing my arms, inspecting them. "Are you hurt? What happened?" she asked. I had a brief flashback on what happened yesterday. With it came tears. Mina enveloped me in a hug, both of us sinking to the ground as I cried into her shirt. Kirishima then quickly left the room towards the school. "Shoo, it's okay Izu, you're alright," she said quietly as someone walked toward us. I glanced up to see it was Todoroki-kun. I pulled back from the hug. Apparently some of the dried blood had somehow stained Mina's white shirt, but it didn't matter. "Where's Kacchan?" I uttered out, noticing the angry blonde wasn't in the area since he didn't come over. Kirishima went out to find him, he said. I nodded. "Can we go too?" I asked. He nodded. Mina helped me up, giving me a happy smile. "Let's go find that angry Pomeranian." She cried out enthusiastically, making me laugh. I'm glad I still have friends. We ran throughout the school. It seemed like he was nowhere to be found. Eventually, we met up with Kiri, who still couldn't find Kacchan either. Those two decided to head back to the dorms and wait for him there. I wanted to search for him, so we parted ways. Wandering through the different floors of the school, I heard familiar laughing. "Hide." I listened, quickly running into an empty classroom. We were near the roof, which was a floor up. I put my ear up against the door, listening as the students chatted. It's funny how the sports festival champion is so easy to beat now. I expected more from him. "Did you see Deku though? He was horrifying. No one dared to even talk to him. Reminds me of a psychopath. He's a villain. What more do you expect?" The chatter died down as I heard footsteps echoing down the hallway towards the stairs. I peeked out, seeing an empty hallway. I darted up the stairs from where they came down from. "Kacchan, I hope you're alright." I ran up the stairs, my legs feeling shaky about what I might find up there. "I can assure you, it's not a body." "How is that helpful?" I tripped on the last step, regaining my footing right away, dropping the jacket that was around my shoulders. I quickly ran towards the place I knew where they had been. An empty classroom in the far side of the school, which had a really sad and injured Kacchan walking out of it. "Kacchan." I ran over to him. He didn't look up, nor respond. "Oh my God. Do you need me to help carry you?" "How bad did they hurt you? Your arms are bleeding. Is that how they got you down? With your arms injured you couldn't really use your quirk. Kacchan, can you answer me?" He let out an odd irritated noise and continued to limp his way down the stairs, leaving small droplets of blood in his wake. I watched him for a bit before running towards him again, this time facing him to make him stop in his tracks. "Kacchan." He didn't look up at me. I gripped his shoulders and shook him lightly. Can you say something? Silence. Well, that's just great. Getting impatient, I shook him harder. Kacchan, please answer me. What's wrong? Why are you ignoring me? He pushed me away. I stared. He continued walking. I grit my teeth. Running in front of him again, just blocking his way. This time though, he shoved me. I landed on the ground, feeling a pain in my shoulder from where he touched. I looked at it. There was a small scorch mark on the uniform. It would leave a small burn, but hopefully it'll heal. I look up at him, my eyes watering. Go away. Useless Deku. He said, once again making his way towards the stairs. Tears ran down my cheeks. I'm not wanted by anyone. Kacchan doesn't want to see me. Mom and All Might are gone. I burst into tears. He didn't even notice I was covered in BLD. Some type of friend he is. Izuku. There is a way out of this, you know. I laughed. Really? 'Cause I'm up for suggestions to get out of this SHT hole. Did you just swear? I frowned. Then looked down at my hands, shifting into a proper sitting position. An idea popped into my head. Smiling, I got up and walked toward the stairs. This part doesn't really make sense to me. But it's part of the plot, so bear with it. There was a secret staircase somewhere in one of the janitor rooms that led to the top of the building. It was made so they could clean the roof of the school. But not everyone knew about it since it was rather dangerous, 'cause there's no railings or anything to block students from accidentally falling off. I made my way onto the top of UA. The glass below me was spotless. Apart from the small spots of poop from the seagull that had been sitting on the side of the building. I looked towards the rising sun. It was appealing. I sat down at the edge, watching the sun rise, my legs dangling on the edge. Are you sure you want to do this? I mean, I can't stop you. I'm only allowing this because I don't see a way out of it. Only if you want to bear with all the abuse and hatred, and never become the #1 hero, 'cause of all the people that look down on you. Don't rub it in. I sighed. It's an appealing sight. Ain't that right? All Might. I felt a new wave of sadness drift over me. The new unfamiliar feeling seemed to be at peak right now, making me feel like this is the right thing to do. I smiled. Goodbye, Kacchan. I'll be going with Mom now. With that I got up, not hearing the footsteps running behind me. I turned around to see him in the flesh. Deku. Get away from the ledge. He yelled, his injuries preventing him from reaching me in time. Some of the students that were in the dorms earlier had followed, looks of horror on their faces. I smiled one last time. I'm just going to say hi to Mom and All Might. I'll see you soon. Then I fell backwards. Screams of horror were heard from my classmates. Izuku. Bakugo cried. The wind whipped past me as I fell, faster and faster. Nearing the ground. I heard shouts from students who were outside. Suddenly I slowed down. Confused, I looked around, seeing a bunch of students pile on top of another whose hand was reaching towards me. But when they fell, I continued to fall. At this point I might actually survive. Dim darkness as I hit the ground. I felt no pain or anything. Just peaceful silence. You're not dead. No one's POV. Izuku had hit the pavement. His eyes were closed. BLD seeping from his body. The teachers got through the crowd of people who were blocking the entrance. Some were doing it on purpose. Aizawa was the first to reach Izuku, falling on his knees beside the body. The students that were dogpiling someone were scolded, as well as threatened. The person got up from the ground, eyes brimming with tears as she saw the person's body. She had black hair with streaks of red in some of her strands. Her magenta eyes were filled with sorrow and regret. She ran off, shoving most of the students away. Picture at the top, made by me of course. Aizawa quickly scooped Izuku into his arms, after checking for a pulse. He's still alive. We need to get him to a hospital. The hero shouted. Some of the students were actually disappointed at this news, quickly running off. At a random hospital, they took him to emergency, which brought him into a surgical room. You know what that means. Bakugo had followed Mr. Aizawa, along with some other students, as well as some teachers. You're lucky enough to have brought him here on time. Any minute more it could have been too late for him. One of the nurses said it was around an hour after the surgery. He was alive, but in a critical state. That young lady, she had black hair and purple eyes. She saved him. I think it'd be nice to give her some confirmation on his condition. 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐬𝐚 said. The nurse nodded. Bakugo was with them as well, after getting a checkup when the nurses noticed his wounds. They were standing in the hallway near the room Izuku was in. Nurses were watching him since if anything were to occur then. One-way ticket to heaven. Bakugo was biting his lip. He was covered in bandages and had a sprained arm, so it was slung across his chest in a sling. He seemed on the verge of tears. Why does everything have to be my fault? He whispered, gritting his teeth, making sure they couldn't hear him. The nurse walked away, needing to check up on other patients. Come on, problem child, we need to inform the others before they start making a mini grave in the waiting area. 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐴 said. Bakugo nodded, following. In the waiting room, Kirishima, Mina, Uraraka, Azui, Ida and Shoto were waiting. Kirishima and Mina were manly, crying, while Azui and Uraraka were watching the TV. Uraraka had used tissues surrounding her, like a mini ocean. Glancing at the TV, the news about a UA student jumping in an attempt to kill themselves has spread, though not naming who it was. Only saying that he was in critical condition. Shoto and Ida were the only two who seemed relatively calm, until Ida started breaking down saying how he regrets not being there for Midoriya. Where are the others? There were at least 3 other students that came. 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐴 said. They're outside. The nurses said that they didn't want many people filling up a waiting room. The teachers are with them too. Shoto replied. 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐴 sighed. Midoriya won't be up for a while. I suggest we go home now and wait until he wakes up. It was dark out, perhaps almost wow, they've been waiting for a while. Yes, 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐴-sensei. Everyone but Bakugo and Shoto replied. Of course 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐴 didn't say it either. Call me Eraserhead outside of school please. He said, sighing again. Walking out of the room, some students following him. Bakugo and Shoto remained. You're not going, are you? Shoto said, not showing a hint of emotion as usual. Bakugo turned around, walking back towards the hallway he was in earlier. Shoto following behind. Bakugo, I think you should get some rest. You're injured, and I don't think Midoriya dash. Don't say his name half N, half B. Bakugo cut in, turning around and facing the youngest Todoroki. You don't know anything about him. So don't make SHT up. The only reason why you're here is because Izuku helped you get over your little problem with your stupid quirk. So F off. He yelled. Shoto winced, with nothing to reply, for it wouldn't change a thing and he didn't want to anger the blonde anymore. So he stayed silent. Bakugo turned around and stormed off down the hall, away from Shoto. Sighing, the half-red half-white head turned around and walked away. Leaving the hospital. Deciding not to visit a special someone who was just a few floors up. 2 days later. 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐴's POV. It's Monday by the way. Class has started. And I am late, Thef. I decided not to wear my sleeping bag to class, instead dragging it behind me like an overgrown toddler with a favorite Blanqui. I opened the door and walked into the classroom. It became instantly silent. Everyone seems fine, except for a few. Like Ida and Ochako. Also Bakugo, who looks like his childhood friend almost died yesterday, so who could blame him? I felt bad too. He's one of my students, one that actually was able to earn some of my respect. Ever since that first day. When he threw the ball. I kind of treat him and the rest of his classmates like my own children. As if I had any though. I shook my head. You have a class to teach, they're in your class too, not only Midoriya. Alright, today we're going to do a test. I smiled to myself. I could practically hear all of their groans, complaints, and that other whatnot that they're thinking. We'll be testing your quirks out today, to see if you've gotten better at using them. Just like at the camp, but hopefully less catastrophic. Closing my eyes, hopefully they aren't jumping from their seats in excitement. Alright, head down to the changing rooms and put your PE clothes on. You're not going to be wearing your hero costumes yet. With that, I left the classroom. Heading towards the field. Halfway there, I got a call. Does he have a phone on him? Let's just say he does. Quickly answering when I noticed it was from the hospital. Erase her head. A calm voice asked. It was the same nurse from the other day. Yeah, is something wrong? Is Midoriya awake? I asked. Yes, sir, it's not good news. But he's not dead. I hope I didn't worry you too much. She said, good, assuming that I was thinking of the worst. Well, he's in a coma. I stared at the window that showed the side of the school. What happened? I babbled out, not really knowing what to say. I haven't really been in this type of situation to know how to react. It seems that the boy has this. I don't know how to explain it. Basically, his emotions are dragging him further into sleep, so much so he's now in a coma. It's a critical condition, if this keeps going then. She trailed off, not wanting to say the rest. I reached the door leading to the field, noticing that most of the students were outside already. I stood there, thinking for a bit before replying. Thank you for the information. As for now, I hope you can keep doing the best you can to help him. With that, I hung up, not bothering to wait for a reply. Walking out while putting my phone away. The students, of course, noticed this. Did the hospital call? I glanced up to see it was Todoroki speaking. Yeah. They got news on Midoriya's condition. I replied. Most of the class became ecstatic. So, what did they say? Ochako asked, her voice sounding worried and excited. I averted my gaze. It's best you don't know. The only thing I'll say is that he won't be waking up soon. Ochako seemed to brim with tears before falling onto Ida, who was frantically trying to get her to stand up. The rest of the class has arrived, along with a quiet muttering going around. All right, I said, getting everyone's attention. Let's begin. Time skip after classes. No one's POV. The group decided to visit Izuku. The group meaning Kiri, Mina, Uraraka, Ida, Azui, Shinso, Shoto, Bakugo, and the girl that saved him. Kurai Iro. Pronounced Kuarai Iro. Picture at top, said this again, 'cause why not? Made by me, her quirk is the ability to control living creature atoms. This is similar to Shinso's power. The difference is she can activate it on anyone she sees. She can also speed up healing and enhance her abilities. Kind of like a Nita/Nita from Not Even Bones. It's really hard to control. The moment you lose concentration, it stops. This can be fixed through years of training. Another perk to this quirk is that she can use X-ray vision. Bakugo typically ignored everyone's existence on the way there. The only time he did speak was to grunt out a thank you to Kurai. When they got to the hospital, they found Izuku in ICU. The news they got was shocking. He's still got a few broken bones. Luckily, because of his slow falling, he didn't take too much damage, though a vein in his eye ruptured from the impact. Other than that and his new state, he should be fine. Unless he doesn't wake up. The doctor says. They nodded. Kurai and Ochako crying, Azui staying positive and telling everyone he'll be all right. Have any of you informed his parents? He asked. They glanced at each other. Only Bakugo has the address and number. Ochako replied. Teach, why did I have to be the one to give the bad news? He thought. He picked up his phone and walked into a different private room, quickly dialing the number, waiting for someone to pick up. So, a male voice replied. WTF? Why would someone else have Aunt's phone? Who the heck is this? And why do you have Mrs. Midoriya's phone? Katsuki Bakugo, right? He huffed. Duh. I guess I could tell you. Izuku Midoriya is. His eyes widened in shock. Staring at the wall in front of him, a new pain entering his chest. More guilt, to be specific. How? He finally asked. I'm sorry, but I cannot say yet. Was what he got. Gritting his teeth, he threw his phone at the wall. Hard enough to alert anyone outside. But I should have known. Izuku. Pity and guilt filling him to the brim. He tried to keep it in, but the tears disobeyed. Stupid. Stupid. He shouted. Bakugo. What's wrong? He turned around to see a red head. Quickly wiping his tears, he grunted doesn't matter. So, how did she react? Kirishima asked. No response. Just an ash blonde walking past him and out of the room. Must have been really bad for him. The red head then followed. Not before picking up the cracked phone. Outside, the group were either sitting on a small bench next to the room or are standing doing what seems to be nothing. How'd it go? Shoto asked when he saw Bakugo. Why'd you want to know half and half? That is very rude, Bakugo. He was just asking a question. Ida spoke up, moving his arms in a chopping manner. He doesn't have to say Ida, it's typically a private matter. Kurai muttered. Still. He could have just said something like that. Ida said, still doing the chopping motion. Meanwhile, with our little fluffy broccoli. Where am I? Izuku asked again. It felt like he's been in there for days. Not knowing what was happening around him in the real world made him feel uneasy. He should be dead like he was hoping for, now all he wants to do is get out of here, alive. It was just a pitch-black abyss. Occasionally, he could hear voices, along with seeing a ray of light. But somehow, every time that happens, Izuku goes deeper into the darkness. It's amazing how this boy is still alive. Whispered a hushed voice. Are you talking about me? Izuku asked, knowing that they couldn't hear him, but still trying. His friends are very supportive, although I don't know how much longer I could keep lying to them. Another voice said, male this time. Lying. This boy has had a miracle, but the chances of surviving are so low. I don't even know if I want to be his doctor. I can't have another patient die in my hands. The guy said again. So, I'm dying. No, not quite, but if you keep going deeper into darkness, then yes. They will pull your plug and you'll die. Looking around through the darkness, but of course seeing nothing. Where are you even? Can we actually meet now? If you are here, that is. Glancing around, seeing another ray of light. How do I get out of here? It's quite easy, actually. Getting out? Well, why didn't you tell me before? I was hoping you were smart enough to figure it out. He blinked. Going back the way I came will work, right? But how can I? It's not like I can move. You're in your own brain, stupid. Imagine this like you're dreaming. Then allow yourself to float. Right now, you're in the mindset of real life, where you can't fly or anything unnatural without the proper quirk. Bend your reality. Bend my reality. Not even 10 seconds later. I have to be in the mindset where I can do anything that will allow me to move. Like defying laws of gravity. Since this place isn't real, then I can imagine anything. Which means I have to. He closes his eyes, squeezing them shut. Took you long enough. Thank you. Whatever. Concentrate. Imagine me walking through this abyss. Feeling myself shift slightly, then more movement. It'll be a while till you reach the surface since you're so deep in your mind. Be patient and don't get lost in this landscape, or else you won't be able to leave. What do you mean by that? No response. Just keep going. What feels like an hour later. Come on. Keep going. We're almost there. I imagine myself running through the darkness, getting closer to the light that would bring me back. Hey, is the monitor changing? A female voice said, it was louder than before. I must be getting close. Izuku thought. Yeah. His heart rate is speeding up. The male voice from earlier replied. I froze. What? Suddenly, I imagined two people in front of me. My body waking up. I opened my eyes. I croaked out. The doctors smiled. Welcome back. The guy said. Dang, almost thought we lost you there, Izuku. The girl got up, leaving the room. After a bit I heard some relieved sighs and happy squeals. The doctor got up and removed the oxygen mask that was on my face. Looking around the room, I noticed I was in the hospital, which I should be in since I jumped off a building. It was dark, nearly pitch black with no stars in the sky. I couldn't see the moon either, probably from the angle I'm sitting at. You've been here for a few days already. You're all healed up now. I think you should be free to go after a bit of food and rest. He said. I didn't respond. The doctor then left the room. I'm awake. But how come it feels like something's missing? Am I forgetting something? About half an hour later, I was free to go. You have visitors outside. The nurse said. Oh. And who are they? I asked. You'll see. She then proceeded to open the door for me. On the other side was something I was not expecting. I gasped, tears threatening to fall. With the group. The nurse that was inside Izuku's room ran out, running back towards the lobby. We glanced at each other. Bakugo straightened himself, standing up as the nurse and another doctor quickly walked towards the room. "What happened?" he asked. The nurse didn't reply, nor did the other doctor, who both ran into Izuku's room, locking it behind them. Everyone slowly stood up, except for Kurai and Uraraka. "What do you think is happening in there?" Ribbit? Azui asked. "Her face expression doesn't really change since I guess that's the quality of a frog. But you can see how worried she was from the way she was shaking." "We should hope for the best for Midoriya," Ida said, adjusting his glasses. "Ida's right, we can't really do anything in this situation, so we have to hope that he'll be alright," Shoto said in his monotone voice. Bakugo clenched his hands. You can practically hear his teeth grinding. He then abruptly turned around and left, heading back towards the entrance. "Bakugo!" Mina and Kirishima said at the same time, both chasing after him. Kurai stood up from her spot on the bench, trembling as she walked towards the door. "And maybe I can help," she muttered, flinching as Ida stopped her. "How can you help? I know that we all wish we could do something instead of just wait out here and just hope for the best, but you don't know what's going on. It's best to stay out here," Ida said. She shook her head. "And my quirk, I see, can help him. Maybe," she mumbled. "How?" Shinso asked from his space in the dark corner. I maybe can tell what's happening and help him," Kurai said, trembling. Uraraka nodded. "It's better than nothing." Shoto sighed. "Even if I do agree, do you think the doctors will?" "Perhaps not. But I'll do my best. That's what a hero does," Kurai said, clenching her fists. Ida sighed. "All right." He then proceeded to knock on the door. Everyone there sighed. So formal. Shoto just walked ahead and tried opening the door, just as the nurse opened it. Her expression was rather panicked. Kurai quickly stepped closer. "Please let me in, maybe I can help," she said, managing to keep the trembling in her voice at bay. The nurse glanced back in the room where the two other doctors were frantically fretting on what's happening. One was getting a defibrillator ready. The machines around the greenette, beeping loudly. She nodded. "Come quickly." Kurai ran in, followed by the rest. One of the doctors turned towards them. "They aren't supposed to dash. It might be his only chance," the nurse said, seeming to plead. He sighed, then nodded. Kurai quickly got over to Izuku's side, everyone watching as she hesitantly reached toward him. She placed her hand on his forehead, closing her eyes. "Please, Izuku. Wake up." Izuku's POV. I couldn't believe my eyes. Taking trembling steps towards her, collapsing in her arms. Both sobbing. "I'm so glad you're all right, Izuku," she said, slowly patting his green hair. I whimpered. I thought you were dead." She stopped her movements, making me look up at her. She looked sad. "No, darling. I'm not. You must have been dreaming." Pulling her closer in the hug. "I'm glad it was only a dream." She pulled away. "Let's go home." With the others. The beeping in the machines were almost turning into one. When that happens, well, it's not good. Kurai was doing her best, trying to reprogram an atom in his brain to reverse this process. She was sweating from both nervousness and concentration. Her face drenched in sweat. "Izuku, listen to the signs. They will tell you that there is something odd about the world you're in. It's not real. Please wake up." She screamed in her head. She managed to get one atom to do what was told. But she didn't know the significance of it. She didn't want to do any more just in case she somehow damages his brain, so she focused her energy on the reprogrammed one, looking for where Izuku exactly is in this state of mind. But what the hell is going on in here? Everyone won but Kurai turned to see a very angry/worried Bakugo, standing in the doorway. A little bit of whispering, then a rather loud from him, then further silence. "Izuku, you have friends and people who are counting on you to wake up. I know you may not want to. Why don't you want to? Never mind, please just wake up. You'll break your friends' hearts if you leave them." The small atom seemed to be moving on its own, in a certain direction. There was one beside it too. A large black one. That's weird. Realization hit. That's the thing Izuku is in. And whatever atom I programmed is someone that's with him. She sighed in relief. So he will probably end up surviving. As she was about to inform the others, an explosion blew up the side of the room. With Izuku now, we were almost out of the hospital when my mom shivered, a streak of purple flashing around her. Are you okay? I asked, reaching towards her. Why? I'm fine, Izuku. She then continued on walking. Should we ask the doctor to check up on her? For some odd reason, I felt like someone was supposed to reply. I kept walking. An odd claustrophobic feeling creeping on me. Glancing around, I noticed how dim the lights were and seemed to have no sign of life outside either. It also looked like 𝐮𝐸𝐽 was glowing, a rather light shade of magenta. That's definitely not normal. Or is it just the lighting making her look like this? It couldn't be. There is nothing around that should make her look purple or something. We got to the exit where there was a pitch-black car waiting. Izuku. His mother turned around to face him. She was clearly glowing, seeming to be the only type of color in the world. She might actually be. I blinked twice. What the? Yeah, Mom. Something doesn't feel right. Everything was black. There were no lights, other than my mom and the dim lights in the hospital, which was also black in color. There was no moon nor stars in the sky. From the looks of it, no clouds either. Tears started falling from 𝐮𝐸𝐽's eyes. Izuku baby, you need to choose. Huh? I responded. What do you mean? She smiled sadly. Izuku, you need to choose whether or not you'll come with me. I stared. What? I'll go with you. I quickly said. She shook her head. Think carefully. You have friends waiting for you to wake up. As you know, if you follow me, you won't see them again. She said, the tears now free falling. I quickly hugged her, tears falling from my eyes. But I don't want to leave you. My baby. I'm always here. I'll follow you, it's just that we can't really meet. Just know, I'll be waiting for you when the time is right. She said. I nodded, hugging her one last time. I then broke the hug and stepped back, tears falling down my face faster as I smiled. I'm going to play with Kacchan and the others. I said in a giddy voice, which somehow sounded like me when I was younger. She nodded. Be careful. My little Izuku. She then faded and disappeared in a purple fog, taking the surroundings with her. I quickly turned around, running towards the hospital. I need to get to my room. The ground below me was disappearing, revealing the black abyss. If I fall back down, I'll have to restart everything again and they'll think I've died. I continued running. It was getting harder to move in the space. Imagine yourself being able to move. Remember, this isn't real. Running faster, I saw a blinding white light coming from the room I had woken up in. Reaching it before I fell down into darkness. I glanced back, seeing a light magenta color slow down the process of the darkness that was heading towards me. Thanks, Mom. Then I leapt into the light. In the outside world, there was dust everywhere. The doctors and most of the students were nowhere to be seen. Kurai had been knocked out in the explosion. Apparently she took most of the damage for Izuku, so he was relatively unharmed, apart from a few scratches. The side of the wall that was facing outside had been blown away/destroyed in the explosion. Bakugo, being the furthest away, was still conscious. But he couldn't move since there was a large piece of rock that had fallen on top of him, locking him in place without really hurting him. Minute. I can't move. He tried using his quirk to blow up the piece or something, but if he did, he might hurt one of his classmates if the debris were to shatter and hit someone. Mina and Kirishima had been blasted out of the room due to the force of the explosion. Mina was unconscious, but Kirishima had hardened on instinct, taking no damage. He got up slowly. He couldn't really see anything through the fog of dust though. Then, the people who were awake could hear talking. Quickly, we don't have much time before pro heroes get here. A deep voice said, Yeah. Through the fog, we can see a dark figure walking up to where Izuku was, before seeming to take the boy bridal style in his arms and slowly walking to the open space in the wall. Kirishima charged, trying to be stealthy, but the villain dodged, jumping out the building and disappearing in a portal. "DMN it!" Kirishima yelled. Bakugo watching from his spot on the ground, anger boiling him up to the brim. He disintegrated the object on top of him with his quirk. Idiot. Why didn't I do anything? He got up and ran to the edge where Kirishima was looking down from. "I'll get you back, Izuku. Even if it's the last thing I do." Izuku's POV. I had felt myself get picked up by strong arms, moving around a bit before my stomach lurched at a sudden drop. I couldn't do anything since, well, I haven't fully gained consciousness. I have this new feeling of... Is that what I should call it? Well, all I know is that, whatever was happening, I knew I could escape if I wanted. No matter what it takes. After a bit, I heard some voices. "Ugh. Is that Izuku? He's so cute. He's bleeding too, may I just dash?" Then I felt the person holding move, giving me another lurch in the stomach. "Dabi-kun. Let me have some of his BLD, please." The female voice continued. "Dabi. As in the one from the LOV. I thought. Shigaraki, we have retrieved the boy. Why does he want him anyway?" A dark voice spoke. "I don't really know. It was just a message Sensei managed to send me through telepathy." A raspy voice responded. "He looks dead inside." I twitched at that. They're not wrong, right? Oh. Can he hear us? Or is he dead? If he is, then give me his BLD Stitch Face. The female voice said again. "Stitch Face? What type of nickname is that?" The man holding me said. I could feel the rumble from his voice. "It suits you rather well, actually." The raspy voice said. "Shut it, hand job." "Oh, Shiggy got a new nickname." "Shut up. Just bring the kid to the torture room or something. It looks weird with you holding him like that in front of everyone. Like you're his prince in shining armor." The guy said, who is probably Shigaraki. "Torture room. But I don't even know if he's dead or not. We just grabbed him out. From what I heard, he was on death's door." Dabi said. "Whatever. It doesn't matter which room you put him in. Just make sure he doesn't escape. If he's alive." Was I really that close to death? Yeah. "You didn't listen to my warning about not falling into that dream. How was I supposed to know? You were being all cryptic and mystical, so I didn't understand." I felt myself get put on a cold surface, making me shiver slightly. Huh. So he is still alive. That's rather lucky for him, I guess. I felt hot breath on my face. It smelled like cinnamon. I then heard some odd clinking, before I felt something ice-cold wrap around my wrists as well as ankles. I let out a whimper, due to being so cold. I heard. Then some footsteps. My stomach growled. "Damen, I'm hungry." "You think that's what's important right now? Are you always rude and judgy?" More footsteps, then something warm. I felt someone lift me up in a sitting position, then something soft and warm wrapped around my body. Going back into a laying position, the warm material draped over my arms and legs too. That should help. What am I even doing? The voice said, "It's Dabi. Thank you." I uttered out. I heard a loud thump, then a holy a muttered "You're welcome," and then a loud bang. From what I assumed to be a metal door. That was nice of him. Yeah, no kidding. He's a villain. A nice villain. Are you okay? Ask me that again and I'll tell you who's okay. I lay there for what seemed like hours, occasionally hearing footsteps and quiet chatter outside. I'm finally able to open my eyes and move my body. Apparently I'm lying on top of a table that you see people get experimented on in movies. There were some dim lights above me, illuminating the place. You'd think I'd be scared shitless, right? No, I actually feel excited if I'm being honest. Don't know why though. It's because you're going crazy. How would you know? You also still haven't told me who you are. I don't need to, you trust me, so that's all that matters. Well, can I at least have a name to call you? Bandit. As in that type of screaming female ghost in Celtic folklore. Or that large flying creature in Avatar. The movie with the blue alien people. Yeah, any of those. You're a girl. I'm a guy. Then why call yourself Banshee? Why call yourself Deku? Because there's a meaning to it. So yours has a meaning to it as well, but what could it mean to you? Suddenly, the door swung open. A few people walked into the room. Shigaraki, 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐦𝐚𝐫𝐲, Toga, and Dabi. Shigaraki walked up next to the table I was on. I had closed my eyes the moment I saw them, seeming to act like I wasn't awake. "You sure he's not dead?" Shigaraki asked. "Check for yourself, hand job, or are your hands not working?" Dabi replied. Dabi and Toga sounded like they were next to the door. "How the F am I supposed to check? Just put my finger up his nose or something?" Toga bursted out in a fit of crazed laughter, a low chuckle echoing across the room from someone on the other side of the room across from the door. "Maybe you can check his temperature. Say, Dabi, were you the one who put that blanket on him?" The same voice from earlier asked. "I'm guessing is 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐦𝐚𝐫𝐲. I hear shuffling where Dabi supposedly is. Let's not get off topic. I told you guys he's alive. He could have died while we were away." Toga said. "Again, how do I check if he's alive?" Shigaraki said, getting annoyed. "You could just ask." I said, opening my eyes and staring at him. He lurched back from the table. "What the F?" Dabi laughing out loud. "Oh, Izuku is alive." Toga shouted. Glancing around the room, I saw 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐦𝐚𝐫𝐲 in the corner. Izuku knows their names from hearing them in battle, as well as them being on news and the teachers informing him. It's astonishing how you're not afraid. Well, the worst thing they could do is kill me. That's technically my original goal, so what's the point in being scared? "Why'd you bring me here?" I asked. "Izuku, you happy to see us?" "I know I am. But why'd you jump off UA? Life getting rough?" She asked, laughing. Perhaps thinking of it as a joke. Kind of. "So, what are you going to do to me?" I asked again. "I don't have any important information, nor anything special. Why don't you kill me like how everyone wanted? I'm worthless after all. SHT. If I could slap myself I would. Why did I say that?" Stunned silence. The odd feeling flared again, making me feel happy at seeing the surprised/horrored looks on their faces. "Izuku," Toga said, glancing around the room at the others. "Now that's thing messed up." Dabi said, sounding rather upset. "A hero that's broken from the hero society. Shows you how well they treat each other." He continued. "This is unexpected. What do you suppose we do now, Tamura?" 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐦𝐚𝐫𝐲 asked. Shigaraki had gathered his bearings and was now scratching his neck like crazy. "Discuss plans outside. Not with our guest listening to every word we say," he replied, still scratching. "Toga and Dabi, you'll both stay here and guard him," Shigaraki said, turning around and heading towards the door. "But it's not like he can do anything tied down," Toga said. "Don't underestimate him. He took down Overhaul by himself, remember?" Then he left, with 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐦𝐚𝐫𝐲 following behind, closing the door. "This is just great," Dabi said, crossing his arms and leaning against the wall. "Don't be like that. This is our chance to talk to him," she said, jumping up and down. "Whatever. They are interesting. They act like siblings. Well, I guess that makes sense, they technically live together." "True, but that doesn't mean they're as close as a normal family. They didn't meet too recently, so I wonder how strong their friendship is. And are they the type that would protect the other before themselves or throw each other in the path of danger? It'd be interesting to find out since they are villains, but then most people are toxic and selfish, so they could be nicer than expected." I muttered. Someone cleared their throat, making me look towards the door where Toga and Dabi were standing. The looks on their faces were rather unreadable. "I said that out loud, didn't I?" I sighed. "Yeah. Is that something you normally do?" Dabi asks. I frown. "It's a habit I've gotten from studying heroes. Now it happens when I'm thinking HRD on something." "Well, that was one of the nicest things someone said about us," Toga said, squealing. "Study heroes, you say? That's actually pretty helpful in terms of skill, combat ability, and IQ," Dabi praised. I couldn't help but get flustered, feeling butterflies erupt in my stomach. "Why you think so? Everyone thinks that I'm weird because of that." He nodded. "I'd say, if I had that type of skill I don't think I'd even be here." Toga punched his arm. "But you're stupid, which is why you're here with us." I couldn't help but laugh at that. So you're saying I'm here with all or y'all idiots because I'm stupid? Yep. Toga squealed. Well, technically Toga is rather smart in terms of combat, as well as killing since she's gotten away with many murders and hasn't been caught yet. I said, I'm not an idiot. She shouted in Dabi's face. Oi, calm down crazy. He said, flapping his hands in a shoo-shoo movement. I'm not crazy. She cried out loud. Okay then. Crazy beach. He chuckled. You stitch face. I couldn't hold back my laughter. You guys really do act like siblings. They became silent. I looked at them. Dabi now seemed to have iced over, no emotion showing, while Toga just looked sad. I'm sorry. Is this a sensitive topic? I asked, thinking about the rest of my family. Kind of went down like SHT if I'm being honest. Possibly like them, already got a bunch of things in common with these villains. Toga smiled. It's all in the past. Anyways, Ezkin, can I have some of your yummy beef? She asked, liking her lips and pulling out a knife. What happens if I say no? Will you stab me still or will you just put a cut on my arm against my will? I'm generally curious. She winced. WL. Now that you say it out loud. If you say no then I won't. She said, putting her knives away. I didn't say you couldn't. I said, staring at the knife in her hands. Dabi stared at me like I was crazy. Toga squealed again. Don't take too much BLD, what are you trying to do? Get them to trust me? Well, Toga I guess. And why do you want that? Well, it seems like I'm going to be here for a while, why not get to know each other? You want to become their friends. That's not a bad idea. But what about Dabi? I'm sure you don't want to be just friends. What? I felt a light sting on my arm. I glanced down to see Toga carefully slicing her knife through my forearm. She had moved the blanket slightly to reach it. I stared at the BLD slowly dripping out from the cut, suddenly feeling my stomach growl. Toga then grabbed a small towel from her pocket and dabbed it on the bloody cut, absorbing it. She then took out a vial which was also on her. She squeezed the bloodied towel, letting the BLD drip in it. Her tongue sticking out hungrily. I'm starving. Is that the only thing you're worried about? Toga then ripped a piece of the blanket, wrapping it around my arm to stop the BLD from flowing. By the way, the sheets are white. She swung in a circle dancing after putting a cork on the vial of BLD. I've never heard of someone who'd willingly give someone BLD, especially to this crazy. Dabi said. Toga swung in a circle. Izuku is nice. Unlike you, but his BLD tastes better than yours. Yours is really sour. Bleh. She stuck out her tongue at him. Sure, it's just your taste. I'm sure my BLD tastes better than anyone here. He said sarcastically. I don't know, it could depend on how you are. Like if you're mean or nice. Sweet would mean the person is nice. Bitter or sour is mean. I said. Well, that's what I think. Haven't tried it though. Ooh. You want to become my BLD partner? Toga screamed. Dabi covered his ears. DMN, present mixed secret love child. He said. I laughed. That sounds exactly like Todoroki. She glared at him. Stitch face. What's up with you and secret love of childs? Making a childish pout and whining. Children. You mean secret love children. I corrected. Childs. She shrieked in her childish manner. I sighed. Then the door opened again. Dabi and Toga turned towards it. Twice. Welcome to the party. Toga shrieked. Twice did a small fist pump motion. Yeah. Then his expression changed. This looks like a funeral. He said, his voice deepened. I just blinked at him. Dabi sighed. What did you come in here for? Did handjob tell you to SWSH places with crazy here? He asks, sounding bored. Twice shook his head. Nah, I just came here, 'cause I was bored and wanted to talk to my people. He said, gesturing to Toga. Then he frowned. It's boring as CRP outside, no one's willing to talk about anything. Very antisocial today. Voice deepened again. Toga let out a laugh. Why don't you make yourself busy then and get me a nice cup of BLD from one of my hidden packets? She asked. Twice tilts his head to the side, seeming to be thinking about his answer before giving a thumbs up and leaving. The door slams shut, a loud clang echoes the room. Dust billowing up. Silence follows. It seems Toga has nothing left to say as she sits down on a small table in the corner that I just noticed. Dabi is just leaning against the wall, looking like he's about to fall asleep. I looked around the room. It's similar to a surgical one you see in hospitals. After a minute, I heard a faint gasp from Toga, who gets up and walks over to Dabi. She whispers into his ear. I was only able to hear cuffs and quirk. Dabi's eyes widened. He glanced back at me before shaking his head. And no, I forgot, he said. I stare at them. Do you think he knows? Toga asked, this time not whispering since they're not really being specific. Dabi shakes his head. No, I don't think so. I can't believe I forgot the most important thing, he said. Toga frowns. Maybe we could put it on him now. I glance back at my wrists and ankles. They're chained to the table with metal cuffs. But they're normal cuffs. I frown. Ugh. They didn't put quirk-canceling cuffs on me. Some villains they are. So, you want to get out of here? I look up at the ceiling where the old hanging lights were. It's better here than there. They probably think I'm dead. A twinge of guilt makes its way through my thoughts. They're probably blaming themselves. I shove that thought away, shaking my head to the best of my ability, due to me being chained down on a table. I sighed. It's sure taking a long time for Shigaraki to have a talk with his partner. Next thing I know, I'm being shaken awake. I blinked. Did I fall asleep? I was now sitting in a metal chair. It was a plain room, not the same one I was in earlier. My hands were tied to my back, my feet were also tied together. I twisted my head to try and get a look at my bondaged hands. There were quirk-canceling cuffs on me now. I couldn't help but grin at that. Ugh, finally the brat's awake. The raspy voice of Shigaraki interrupts the silence. I just stare at him. He was leaning on the wall in front of me, his odd hand covering his face from view. Do you normally just watch people sleep? I asked. From what I see, it seems like Shigaraki cringes, wrinkling his nose. I may be a villain, but I'm not a Fing creep, he says. Really? From what I've seen so far, you might as well be one, I said, though knowing that I'd probably end up with a disintegrated finger or something. I hear quiet stifles of laughter behind me. Perhaps his other group mates. Well, whatever they want to do with me, I can't stop them. You can stop them if you're able to get those quirk-canceling cuffs off. But does it look like they're coming off soon? Then please be quiet. Thank you for your cooperation. I glance back at Shigaraki, who was now scratching his neck. His jaw clenched. Shiggy, can I have more of his yummy bill? A familiar voice asked. Didn't you just get a whole vial? Dabi asked. Why can't I get more? Oh my god. You idiots, can you just shut up for 1 second? Shigaraki whined in a childish manner. So, the creep is like the baby of the group? I asked. A cold hand wrapped around my neck. Shigaraki was suddenly right in front of me. I frowned. You need moisturizer. I can literally feel how wrecked your hands are. It's uncomfortable. More laughter in the background. I'm pretty sure that there's a certain voice back there that had been laughing earlier had quieted down. He leaned closer, his hands clenching around my neck hard, almost painfully. I can kill you within a second if all 5 of my fingers touch your neck. He hissed in my face. I stuck out my tongue. He let go of my neck, annoyance written all over his silhouette. Why did MSTR ask for him again? He sees me off. Shigaraki, he is important to us. Being a student in Class 1A and someone who worked close with All Might, he is quite valuable. The misty voice said. I lean against the chair, bored. So, you gonna torture me or something? Beat me in front of the camera and broadcast it to the world? It'd be interesting to see their reactions, utter delight from them, I dare say. I said, not caring about the horrified gasps possibly coming from Toga. Drama queen. You make it sound like we're monsters. The voice of whom I think is twice. I paused to think before speaking. You are villains. This is literally what I've been taught most of my life. Feel free to correct me. I'd just say, people with a tragic backstory and are wishing for revenge or a way to cope with it. I turn my attention towards Shigaraki. What are you going to do with me? Dang, I'm bored. He tilted his head slightly. Sensei said to capture you, but the message was cut short. So we're keeping you here for now since we don't exactly know what we're supposed to do with you. Brow furrowed. Does that mean I'm staying here? He grunted. Please don't whine like a baby, it's not like we're happy to have you here either. Blinking once or twice. I never said I didn't want to stay, did I? Shigaraki seemed to choke on his own tongue. What? He sputters out. I turned away from him. It's not like I have anywhere else to go. Silence filled the room. It seemed Shigaraki was frozen, not knowing what to do in this situation. It was quite unsettling how I can feel his gaze on me, just staring. I shifted slightly. Rustling in the background. He can stay in Dabi-kun's room. He got the bigger one so it'll be fair. Toga said in a giddy voice. More movement in the background. How are we so sure he won't try to escape and tell the heroes where we are? We can't trust him. He's a goddamn hero for Christ's sake. Twice butts in. And if we did keep him, we'd most likely have to put him in the dungeon or torture room. Another voice comes in. It's a bit raspy but rather high-pitched. But we shouldn't do that. The voice continued. Stain said that this boy is worthy of being a hero. Even if you are against me, I won't have him injured in any way. Oh, so that must be that guy from the training camp incident? The green reptilian-like man who seems to follow Stain's ordeals. Briefly remembering when he saved me from getting hit by a giant metal pole. Shigaraki sighs. Seems like our best option is to put him in Dabi's room. How is that the best option? An odd sound to what seems like a chuckle comes from Shigaraki. 1. Your room is one of the largest. 2. You don't have to constantly worry about using your quirk in the middle of the night so you won't kill someone on accident. A low rumble of chuckles at that. And 3. Because it's payback beach for what you did. He's lifting his middle finger in front of him, what seems like a smirk plastered on what you could see of his face. Hey! No inappropriate language or signals in front of the broccoli child. Toga shrieked. Demon, my ears are bleeding. Fine. An angry grumble comes from Dabi. My heart fluttered hearing his voice again. What the shush, child? Let my ship unfold. What? Next thing I know, my world of vision turns black, with a bunch of pain in the back of the head. Well, that's just great. I have awakened. I'm lying on a really comfortable bed. Looking around the dark room, I can see light from below what seems to be a metal door. I slowly sat up. It was hard to see anything because of how dark the room was. I'm assuming it's nighttime outside, which would explain why there's no light filtering through the window above my head. I pulled the curtains out of the way to see through the window. First thing I see are metal bars. I wrinkled my nose. They don't trust you. Yeah, no SHT. I turn around, facing away from the window. The room was actually rather large compared to the one I had at the dorms. But it seemed. There was a small desk in the room with a pile of clothes on top. Another door next to it with a clothing hook. Probably the bathroom. There was a small cabinet next to the bed, but it had locks all over it. So I won't steal anything. Quiet chatter came from outside. Shadows blocking some light entering the room. I tensed as the door opened. So may I, that'd be Toga? No, crazy. I'm not letting anyone else into the room. And I don't need him to bleed out for you to have fun. And Dabi. The dark figure stepped into the room, slamming the door behind him. I'm telling Shiggy you hit me in the face with the door. She screamed, though it was muffled since there was a door in her face. What's he gonna do about it? Dabi mutters, glancing towards me then away. His eyes widen and he goes back to staring at me. I shifted. DMN, awkward. Shut up. Hi. That was more or less of a question than an actual greeting, but that's all that I can muster right now. What a way to break the silence. His eyes narrow. You're awake. I nod. Wanting to speak because of the scary expression he was wearing. He lets out a deep sigh, dragging his hands through his hair and muttering something inaudible. This is really quiet. You should say something. Like what? Hey, Nice room you got. What do you do in your free time as a villain? No, that's just weird. Now that I think about it, what do they do other than villain work? Shouldn't be too different than what we normally do, right? How can you be so sure? They're people too. People that made some bad choices, but they can still change. Still seeing the good in all people, and being a hero to all. I don't know if I still want to be a hero. I don't think I can now, since most people hate me still. Scratch that, nearly everyone hates me. I'm like worse than a villain to them. But I guess they're right, all I've done to my friends is hurt them. I'm no hero. Greenie. I then felt a light bonk on my head. Ow. I yelped, rubbing my head, glaring up at him. To my surprise, he had a look of sympathy with a mix of worry, along with something else. But I can't tell what it is since I'm not the best at reading emotions. My eyes widened before I flushed with embarrassment. WI, mumbling again. He snorted, shaking his head, seeming to think about what to say next. He sighed, sitting on the bed next to me. I scooch away, 'cause he's still a villain, I'm not taking any chances. He glances at me. I know you're not the one who killed the 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐸𝐵𝐻. But that doesn't mean you should beat yourself up about it because of what other people think. Just ignore them and show them how wrong they are. I stare at him in surprise. Glancing at me, he seemed to notice what he was doing, quickly getting off of the bed and scratching the back of his head in embarrassment. Thanks. He stared at me, confusion on his stitched face. Thanks for that, I said again. He nodded, then turned to leave. Taking one more glance back at me before closing the door, the room being extracted of all its light as the door closed. I'm going to miss being able to go outside. I lay back down on the bed, suddenly feeling drained. Guess I still need to recover from that fall. I closed my eyes and drifted off back to the dreamscape, only to find a nightmare. No one's POV. With Class 1 gay and everyone else in the outside world of Japan, the students seemed to be in shock. First All Might, next one of their friends tried to jump off the building, and now the League had captured the dead body. Or so that's what we heard. Bakugo is now the most depressed emo in school, surpassing both Tokoyami and Shinso in the looks like he'll drop dead department. The so-called Baku squad wasn't doing too well either. Mina and Kirishima looked like they haven't slept at all for the past few days. Denki seemed like his eyes had turned into balloons from crying, and Siro. Well, he hasn't been to school since Midoriya was taken. It's not going too well for the Deku squad too. Uraraka seems much more timid and barely pays attention in class. Ida is now much more stricter to everyone, sometimes getting on others' nerves. Azui is still her normal self, just seeming much more sadder. Shoto is a different story. He's become rigid, not talking to anyone unless it's him snapping at someone. He and Bakugo seem to hang out more. The rest of the class was in a similar state. They kept to themselves, not speaking with any other of the UA students. If you're thinking the students in Class 1A got the worst of it, well, you're close to wrong. Eraserhead, also known as Mr. Aizawa, has been blamed for Izuku's supposed death and capture. He even agrees, beating himself up about it ever since. Looking worse than usual but more alive too, as if he stayed alert more than he'd be able to save his students from something like this. The reputation at UA has never been so low. Somehow the public found out about which class the student was from, but nothing else. This puts even more shame on the teachers, even the students themselves, for behaving like villains. They have argued with the public too, saying that it had been partially their doing for the young boy's supposed death. This had only made matters worse, UA being now the most unpopular hero school. If things could get worse, then everyone seemed to be on their way to Hell's Gate. Bakugo got special treatment. Since the incident, they've been worried that he'd do the same thing. He now stays at the dorms almost permanently. When he goes out, he always has at least 3 others with him as guards or support. This included teachers and other heroes. He doesn't talk much anymore, not even to get riled up. Not joking when I say he looks dead inside. The spark of fiery passion that had been in his eyes had fully been dismissed, his eyes now a grayish-red color. His hair was also down, not as spiky as it had once been, though not everyone could tell since he always wore a hoodie. The hot and cold quirk Todoroki was in a similar condition. I almost wrote Todoroni face with tears of joy, but it wasn't too different from how he normally acts, but occasional set-off looks and some snarling here and there. 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐽𝐫𝐲 was nearly untouchable, only people in his class get to see him, whenever they weren't he always disappeared. There was a rumor that said the police were taking him for questioning about Izuku since he was one of the closest people to him. Many things are still unknown. What people hope to find out is whether or not Izuku was alive. Aizawa walked into the class. He looked much more tired than normal, but also like he's had a whole ton or coffee or something, seeming hyper-aware of his surroundings. The class was in their seats, deciding not to chat with each other in the beginning of school no more. He sighed, staring at his students. All right, today we're going to be patrolling the city as a class. Everyone will be partnered up, 4 people per group. He glanced at the sheet in his hands. We'll be having a new student joining us today too. Momentarily, depending on if he comes back, to fill in for the class. A low grumble swept through the air. No one wanted someone else to replace their once cheery friend. Aizawa began to walk out of the classroom. Get your suits, we're leaving now. The class quickly obeyed, except for a certain ash blonde. Stupid. This is stupid. Doing this won't bring him back. Not leaving his seat, his head on the table. Please be all right. Or else. The class was separated into their groups. They each had to patrol a certain area around the city. The said purpose of this was to see if they can find any suspicious activity and then report back immediately. 5 groups of 4. The student joining them was Kurai Iroh. The class suspected that this was on purpose since she was one of the only people nice to any of them before the incident with their classmate. 𝐒𝐮𝐲𝐽𝐫𝐲's group consisted of Pinky, Red Riot, and Kishu, Mina, Kirishima, and Kurai. They were patrolling a not-so-populated area, which meant lots of abandoned warehouses. 𝐒𝐮𝐲𝐽𝐫𝐲 snorted, the giddy chatter from Kirishima and Mina annoying him. Kurai, on the other hand, was annoying him by being quiet and kept giving him side glances. This extra thinks she's better than me. He grit his teeth, glaring into the dark alleyways. 𝐒𝐮𝐽𝐫𝐲, was it? 𝐒𝐮𝐲 Katsuki. He turned his glare towards the female. Outfit below, doesn't belong to me, but I did edit it, yeah. What do you want? He snarled. She winced. I was wondering if you could tell me more about Izuku. He stared at her. It's not too much to ask. She yelped when his glare hardened. His eyes looked like they were going to burst into flames. She smiled, nodded in understanding. He grunted, walking faster. The 2 crackheads behind him still talking like mad. Oi, Bakubro. We should check out that alley. Pinky here says she saw something. Kirishima grinned. Kurai nodded. There is someone standing over there, multiple people I think. I'm not sure what they're doing though, their mouth area is abnormally warm. Mina and Kirishima stare. You can sense all that? Mina asked. She nodded. It's part of my quirk. I can feel other living things around me if my quirk was on. That's so cool. Kirishima says. She nodded again sheepishly. Sometimes it can be overwhelming if there's too many things around. 𝐒𝐮𝐽𝐫𝐲 snorted, stomping past them and into the alleyway. They quickly followed. It was dark, and the smell of smoke filled their lungs. Quietly creeping through the darkness, they could hear soft mumbling and some hoarse laughter. Stupid. Heroes think they rule the world. Well, I heard a rumor that says the League has gotten a new toy. Some snorts go around. Well, they're not careful at all. Mina thought. What kind? Someone else asks. Well, I don't know the details, but it's something very powerful. A rare, say, a new Nomu or whatever those monsters are called. A hushed silence. Ya think they made a Nomu out of that Yue brat? A different voice asked. Mind you, that Yue brat has a strong quirk. The young heroes froze. Kurai could practically feel the anger and pain coming from the ash blonde. He might lunge at any moment. She doesn't know telepathy, but if what she did worked, their cover hopefully won't be blown. Using her quirk, she activated something in his mind. Activating his pineal gland, making it produce melatonin at an abnormal rate. She noticed him starting to slouch, smiling a bit under her breath. A few moments later, she grabbed onto his shoulders and quietly dragged him to the back, his body lulled in her grip. Mina and Kirishima were surprised. "Hold him," she whispered, quickly obeying and dragging him out of the alleyway. Turning back, only to go face to face with one of the guys who were huddling in the corner. She stares. "What's a little girl like you doing here? Playing dress up?" He stares, threateningly. She starts sweating as she sees like 3 more guys behind him, all looking mean and ready to kill. And should have just left this to the pros. "Sorry. I was just walking by. Anyways, I gotta go. Sorry for bothering you." Running as fast as she could out of there, only to be stopped when another male stepped in front of her, seeming to appear out of the shadows itself. Stopping herself before running into him. "I think you heard too much, Missy." The guy leaned down to reach eye level. She gulped. "Mina. They better not come help. They need to warn Aizawa." Muffled chatters of protest in the background. She closed her eyes in defeat. Her 2 other partners were shoved to the ground in front of her, but no Bakugo. Kirishima's face was buried in the ground, mumbling something like, "Not manly at all, Jis." Mina sat up, looking around at the tall men who were also smoking, allowing the burning smell to cover them. Kurai stared at the man in front of her, gritting her teeth. "Look, if you just let us through we could go peacefully. By the time we even have a chance on notifying any heroes you'd be gone by then, don't you think?" Surprised at herself for having the courage to even say that. The guy barked out a laugh, making her wince. "I don't think so. We've seen you all before, UA students, right? Bleh, young heroes in training, going to make me sick." He smirked, gesturing to the guys behind her, each ready to pounce. She frowned, lost in thought. If I were a pro hero in this situation, what would I do now? She clenched her fist. If this was going to end up bad no matter what she did, she needs to make the first move. Just as they lunge towards her, she leaps up above them, dodging narrowly. Using her quirk to enhance her abilities. She gripped onto the side of one of the walls, doing her best to dig her nails into the bricks. On the ground, Mina and Kirishima were fighting hand-to-hand combat. Mina had drenched herself in acid, so when they did hit her it would burn. Kurai held onto the wall like a ninja. Almost exactly like one because of her costume design climbing the wall, she went more to the side of where the villains were. There were like 4 more, disregarding the ones already in combat, which was why so many in one area. Using her quirk so she didn't need to fight, doing the same thing she did with Bakugo. Eventually each had fallen asleep, slowly falling to the ground. Now she had a headache. She leapt onto the ground, landing with a thud, turning to help her friends. They weren't exactly winning the fight, but they certainly weren't losing. Kirishima, being him, he ran into one the guy's head first in the gut, slamming the dude against the wall with an audible bang, falling to the ground unconscious. Guys left, both with burned fists from their fight against Mina. Kurai quickly leapt up and pinched a nerve cord on their necks, both freezing their movements altogether. She lands with a very loud sigh. "Hero work is tiring." Mina laughs and Kirishima nods. "I didn't know you could fight so well, Iroh. That was so cool." Kirishima praised. She flushed. "Thanks, I guess." "Wait a minute," Mina says, getting their attention. "Wasn't there one more guy here? The one that stopped you there?" Kurai and Kirishima froze. Looking around, the man was nowhere to be seen, and they couldn't recall ever fighting him. "I'm guessing he might have gotten away." "Damn it." Kurai clenched her fist, glaring at the ground. "It's fine, Kurai. We should just go and get Eraserhead. We got a few bad guys here, it's fine. We'll catch him next time." Mina soothed, patting the girl on the back. She sighed again. "All right. POV stupid UA brats. Always ruining plans. What's the point of telling other villains about the kid now? I'm in so much trouble. The League will probably have my head for this. I wonder how much those brats heard. Well, just to be safe, I guess I could suggest we kill the kid." "Yeah, that will work. I know they want to too. I'll have the honors for killing the closest student to All Might and all will be forgiven. Torturing the brat would also help me feel at ease. Oh ho, this is going to be so much fun." Izuku Midoriya. The man in the shadows slowly left, easing his way through the cracks to the abandoned mansion. Knowing the news he'd bring was bad, at least he got the chance to kill a kid. Izuku's POV, I feel kinda bad. I'm practically taking up this guy's bed. I don't exactly know how he's going to sleep tonight with me here. You could always just sleep on the floor, right? That is a good idea, but I don't want him to think I got up and possibly died on the floor when he comes back. You can leave a note. Does it look like I have access to anything at the moment? Gosh, just trying to be helpful. You are by keeping me company. What the? No, what, never mind. Like I said, sleep on the floor. What is up with you and the floor? Did you sleep on the floor too? As a matter of fact, yes. Okay, well, may I ask why? You may not. The sound of the door creaking open brought me out of my thoughts. I was facing away from the door so whoever it was couldn't see my face. There was a loud bang from what I assumed the door being slammed shut before a drawn-out sigh. Burnt chicken nugget is showing attitude. A shrill voice squealed from what sounded like downstairs. Shut the F up, beaches. Burnt chicken nugget screamed back. Oh my gosh. It's my people. I rolled in the bed, slowly turning towards the door. The figure of Dabi leaning his forehead against it prominent. Sup? I said after a while. He jerked his head towards me, before turning around sighing and sitting on the ground. I forgot you were here. That comment made my heart drop, almost making me cry. He didn't mean it like that, Izuku. You sure? Sounds like I would rather be forgotten at this point. I stared at him. He was rubbing his hand between his eyes, looking exhausted. How's your day? I asked quietly. Don't ask me where I got the courage to speak to him. His eyes trail back to me, a frown plastered on his face. Why aren't you scared? We could practically kill you at any time. But you won't since you need me for something, right? And if you did kill me then, yay, completed mission. I smiled to myself. This response was faced with silence. Oh, and I asked my question first, so your turn to answer. Suddenly there was a weight on top of me. I yelped as Dabi pinned me to the bed, not really being able to see anything due to the darkness. I just laid there not trying to fight back. I looked up at him, the outline of his face visible. Why do you keep saying that? I know you are suicidal, but still, you've got a second chance at life and you'll just throw it away. His breath smells like cinnamon and chocolate. DMN, I'm starving. Are you even listening? I stare back up at him, now being able to see him more properly. You'd think after hours of lying in darkness I'd be able to see a bit clearer, but my eyes say no so. No, I'm not. If this conversation is about the meaning of life, then I'm out. The answer to that is 42 if you didn't know. I could practically feel his eyes boring into mine, but I could hardly care. I don't really care about anything anymore. I'm nearly ready to just give up on life. His hand went up to brush my cheek, my eyes widened at the gesture. I know you don't think you're worthy of living or some type of bullshit, but remember what I said earlier. Okay, Greenie. I blushed a deep red, nodding, also praying that he doesn't see me now. Say it. He hissed. I shivered. Okay. I mumbled. As if noticing the position we were in, he quickly got off. A visible blush showing on his face. I dare say that I thought it was hot/cute. No. I cannot be falling for him. Sorry. He muttered, avoiding my gaze. I didn't say anything. What should I even say? Whatever. Not like he'll care much anyways. The same thought from earlier came back. I don't know if I want to ask him about it though. Just tell him, Izuku. I stuttered. He stared at me, waiting. Well, DMN. Spit it out. He growled. I frowned, gesturing to the bed. Continuing to stare, not getting what I meant. I face-palmed. Do you want me to sleep on the floor or? Now that sent the message. His face contorted into a mix of emotions that I just couldn't place. From what I could see, a faint pink dusted his cheeks, well, what I could see of them, 'cause his face is covered and it's dark. DMN it. He mumbled under his breath. I'm going to kill handjob after this. So. I stare at the ground, it did not look comfortable at all. Well, maybe the carpet would cushion the ground a bit, but then I'd be cold still. You will sleep in the bed, I'll figure something out. He grumbled, moving towards the door. I wanted to protest but thought against it. He's already tired as it is, Shouldn't make it worse with my bickering. Thank you again, I said, looking at his dark figure as he opened the door again. He froze, before turning slightly towards me nodding. The door shut once more, this time much more softly than the last. Smiling to myself, I lay back down on the soft bed. Took my floor idea. Oh shush. Suddenly feeling tired, I felt myself drift to sleep. Somewhere in the middle of the night Dobby's POV it was quiet in my room. I got like a wrecked sleeping bag from downstairs. It had holes in it which is really inconvenient. I mean I was tempted to kick the kid out of my bed but I just couldn't. The stupid sleeping bag was disgusting. I regret ever touching it. Kicking it to the side of the room, I heard a noise behind me. Is the kid awake? Glancing at him before turning back to complaining about the stupid thing in front of me. He let out a whine, which was somewhat concerning. Is he gonna be like that all night or? Sighing, I went towards the kid. To my surprise, he was shaking, sweating while tossing and turning in the bed. During the whole thing he was making quiet noises of pain and sadness. He's having a nightmare. HT, what do I do? What do I do? I've never really had to help someone from a nightmare nor had a total stranger in my bed. Quickly sitting on the side of the bed, I shook the kid's shoulder. Noting how cold his skin felt. Greenie, wake up. Shaking his shoulder. You know what, I lied. I have some experience in this sort of thing. Demon daddy issues. I slowly sat him up, cradling him close to me. It's all right. I hummed in his ear. He started calming down, his breathing was becoming even again, and he wasn't shaking anymore. Still a bit fidgety though. I ruffled his hair, amazed at how fluffy and soft it still was. A small smile showed on the boy's face, purring as he buried himself in my chest. I flushed. Then, how can this kid be so cute? No wonder why Toga likes him. As a friend. Not like him. But I guess she is kind of obsessed with him. Gently laying him back down, I was about to go back to kicking the demon's sleeping bag out the door when... Please. Stay. My head whipped around, staring at the little green head. He started shaking again, my arm firmly in his grip. I sighed. Laying down next to him, moving a bit to get comfortable. He snuggled into my arm and started purring again. I can't believe I'm doing this. Or even being nice to him. This demon kid sure is something. Slowly I fell asleep. Izuku's POV warmth. I'm covered in warmth. Most of the time I wake up sweating or crying or screaming. This time was actually rather comfortable. The warmth was nice, I didn't really want to move at all. I snuggled deeper into the heat. Something was ringing in the back of my mind, as if I was forgetting something. But I can't remember what. There was some shifting in the bed which caught my attention. I decided to ignore it. After a moment, I suddenly remembered where I was. Hesitantly opening my eyes and looking up. Right in front of me was Dobby. His face was right in front of mine. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my god. I felt myself heat up and butterflies explode in my stomach. I'm too afraid to move in case I wake him up. His arms are wrapped around me and mine were around his arm covering me. This is going to be so awkward when he wakes up. A loud groan signaled what I was fearing. Freezing in place and closing my eyes. The bed shifted again, but after a bit, it stilled. I was tempted to just scream randomly to get rid of the awkward atmosphere. Then a grunt, some more shifting, and then some swearing. Finally opening my eyes to stare right back into pearl blue ones, which widened with surprise. Good morning, he said. His face was definitely pink. I just stared. Could you get off my arm? I glanced down, seeing that I was lying on it, deciding to sit up, releasing him. The uncomfortable silence settled in like cold winter air. And this is awkward for me too. Avoiding his gaze as he got up and walked to the other door on the side. Seeing I was right that it was a bathroom. He closed the door. Alright, what now? We can go down to see the league. They seem... But... Really? I can't tell if you're a villain or not. You act so different. I know you said you were me, but how? Do I like have another soul in this body? I just can't wrap my head around this logic. Whoever said there's logic in this superhuman world? You have a point. I know I do. staring at the metal door, wanting to lie back down on the bed, but the nightmares kept me from doing so. I waited until Dabi had gotten out of the washroom, adjusting his dark coat. Not giving me a glance, he left the room, shutting the door behind him. What's up with him? Few seconds later. Are you anime crying? What the hell does that even mean? Crying but not actually sad, just doing it because it looks funny. You have a crying quirk. No, I don't. Expressionless face really. Crying quirk beach. Loudly crying face. Bye. The door slammed open, me just staring at whoever was standing there. It was a blonde girl with a bloody knife in her hand. She was smiling until she saw my face. Running over to me and engulfing me in a hug, ignoring how I was trying to break free and hide in the corner. Izuku-_, why you crying? Did Dabi hurt you? Do you want me to stab him? I frantically shook my head. No. I'm fine. Just a anime crying. She stares. Shut up. Tears leaked from her eyes as they turned into bright yellow stars. I can in an anime cry too. She said, smiling while her eyes poured out rivers of water. Footsteps from the hallway signaled other people were there, but I could care less. Crazy. How did you get into my room? Dabi asked, walking in. Toga turned, smiling and swinging her knife around in a turning motion. I picked the lock. What looked like Shigaraki stood at the door. Why the F is he crying? Toga too. He exclaimed in his raspy voice. Toga smiled as she turned to her partners. We're anime crying together. Isn't it cute when he cries, Shiggy? Don't you agree, Stitch Face? She cooed. The force of 2 more pairs of eyes on my face was too much to handle. I let out a squeak and buried my face in the pillow I grabbed. You're going to make them die of cuteness. Shut up. Realizing I said that out loud. Toga squealed again. This was followed by a loud thud, making me glance up to see Dabi and Shigaraki staring at the ground, where Toga was rocking back and forth rambling gibberish. When I thought you couldn't be any crazier. Dabi muttered grumpily, walking towards the blonde and kicking her gently on the side. Hand job, if y'all got no business in here then get the F out. Toga gasped with shock, abruptly getting up and clutching my head, pulling me into a tight hug while covering my ears with her hands. No swearing in front of the cinnamon roll. Or else I will stab your eyeballs out. She shrieked. Dabi just stares before turning to Shigaraki, who shrugged. Just go along with it, not like he'll live long in this condition. Toga shrieked again. I'm keeping this cinnamon roll alive, you drunk hoe who smells like rotten flesh and fish. You too, Purple Stitch Beach. She shouted, still plugging my ears, muffling her shouting. Dabi winced, shaking his head. Do whatever, I'm going to get my drink. Then he left. Somehow, the room felt colder with him gone, which was odd since I'm literally being hugged by Toga Himiko, who is not at all how she was on the battlefield. Too nice that it makes me uneasy. Toga tightened her grip around me, efficiently blocking out most noise now. Shigaraki and Toga were talking, but I only heard snips of the conversation. Next thing I knew, Toga was putting some sort of cloth around my mouth and nose. My eyes widened in surprise slightly, but the sudden feeling of drowsiness soon overtook me. It's chloroform. I wonder where they got their hands on this. You're getting drugged and this is what you think about. Gosh, you're hopeless. The world then faded into black. Bakugo's POV, that extra had the nerve to do that to me. I was walking back to class after spending what felt like hours in the old lady's room. Shitty Hair was with me because apparently he's in the Protect the Angry Pomeranian squad. AI Baku bro. What? I snarled, making him laugh nervously. You're not feeling down, right? About what happened? I eyed him, watching as he backed up slightly under my gaze. What the F are you talking about? His arm went to scratch the back of his head. Never mind, forget it. He then continued walking. That's weird. Walk behind me, Shitty Hair. I yelled. A ghost of a smile appeared on his face as he slowed down and doing so. What the hell is he happy about? Maybe I imagined it. Whatever. Storming off to class, hearing his calls for me to slow down since he couldn't catch up. It reminded me of how Deku would always follow me when we were younger. biting my lip as I felt something hot burning in my eyes. Thing. Tears are for weaklings. Don't cry, idiot. Barely managing to hold it in, making the scowl on my face deepen. Opening the huge door to the class, I see that most of the other extras were here already. Of course, the teacher was nowhere to be found again, probably rolling towards the door in the hallway. One thing that I noticed immediately was that same demon extra sitting in Deku's seat. The same girl that had somehow sent me to sleep during our patrol. She was fiddling with the strap of her bag, glancing around at the rest of the class. The other idiots don't seem to notice her, too lost in their own conversations. Seeing her in Deku's spot just makes my BLD boil. I stalk towards my seat, keeping my head down to avoid any eye contact. Of course, when I sat down I had caught the attention of that girl behind me. "Bakugo," she says cautiously. I don't move nor respond. "Yeah, I'll call you Bakugo. Do you know what we're doing now?" I'm not exactly sure when class starts since it's my first day in this class and all. She mumbled quietly. I snorted. She puts her bag down, reaching out to poke my back. "What?" I snarl. She jars her hand back as I turn to glare at her. And never mind. She sat back down in her seat and stared at her hands. We caught the attention of the other idiots finally. "That wasn't very nice, Baku bro," Pikachu said. "Yeah." Pinky chimed in. "Whatever." The door opened, signaling the man caterpillar had arrived. The class quieted down, everyone seeming to teleport to their own seats. As you all know, Ms. Iroh will be replacing Midoriya for now. Depending on what happens next can decide if this change is permanent. The man said, getting out of his sleeping bag. Quiet murmurs filled the class. The said girl winced as some of the others glanced at her. The old man sighed, scratching under his eye. "Today we'll just be trying to enhance our quirks, nothing more. Try and figure out new ways of using them. Now go and change into your costumes and we'll meet at Gym Gamma, at the gates." Leaving right after he said that, the Class 1A students slowly got up and left to the changing rooms. Some grumbling involved. "Iroh, or should I call you Kurai? What do you prefer?" Shitty Hair asked the new extra. He don't got a nickname for her yet, rolling on the floor laughing. "Any ideas?" "It has to be a special visible feature," she smiled. "Kurai or Rorai is fine. People often call me Rorai as a nickname." Pinky leapt up smiling. "I love hero training. We always get to see each other improve and maybe even learn new moves ourselves." "Extras, get your buttes over here, we're already the last to leave." I called back to them as I exited the room. Abakubro cares for his friends. Humanoid Pikachu crooned, gaining chuckles from the rest. I glared. "Like I give a shit about you. Get out off your buttes before I blast you to the field myself." The four idiots quickly got out, going to their own change rooms. We all got to the training grounds on time. Everyone was still in a bad mood. All Might won't be teaching the class, so without the nice smiling symbol, everyone is so grumpy and gloomy, even though they're trying to hide it. It doesn't help that one of their little cinnamon rolls are gone either. Deku, being one of the most hopeful person they knew, had actually tried to commit suicide. All the extras have actually apologized to me, saying that they know that they were wrong and that they hope they can earn the name of being called a hero again. I huffed. It was gloomy today, matching the mood of this now shitty class. The old man stood in front of the gym doors, eyeing the students. Bro. What shitty hair?" He smirked, his fist raised to make himself more manly. "I got an idea for a new way of using your quirk, wanna hear it?" I turned to him, he smiled. "So are you up for it?" "Yeah." "Whatever." I snorted. Aizawa stared at the group, waiting. Everyone got the message and stopped whatever conversation they had started. "We'll be having a new teacher for this hero class. So for now, try training on your own. But it better not go overboard or else." Tightening his head up and glaring, the extras backed up slightly. "You'll be going against the teachers. Now start." The doors behind him opened, revealing the same cement walls and structures used for quirk training. Cementos was in the corner, reading a newspaper. "All right. Mina and Rorai. Come on, let's work together to train." Shitty Hair called. Mina ran over, giving a giddy smile made itself known on her face when she saw me. Annoying. The other girl walked over, smiling nervously. Okay, first thing we're going to do is help Bakugo with this new trick I've got on mind. Do you two agree to help? Shitty Hair asked. Pinky nodded. Make Bakugo better than before. How can I say no to that? Better my butt. Just another trick that is probably stupid anyways. The black-haired girl sighed. Bakugo, could you try being nicer? Or at least stop yelling. It's kind of hard to think when you're like that. I glared daggers at her. She shrunk away from my gaze, hiding behind raccoon eyes. Let's start. Third person's POV. The greenhead was still asleep. He was sitting in a more comfortable chair now instead of that old metal one. They had moved the quirk erasing cuffs and transformed it into a choker, so now it's around his neck. Toga, well, being Toga, she decided it was her job to admire Izuku's face when he slept. Just sitting there staring. Dabi was giving her odd looks because the one she was giving Izuku bothered him a lot. Shigaraki agreed, the girl looked corny. In the end, they had Kurogyari tie her to another chair, but in a separate room they call the living room. We call it that, but we don't know what its original purpose was. It's a mansion, so who cares? We sat in the bar in somewhat partial silence, with Toga screaming with protest in the other room. Things are doing just fine. The greenette stirred, capturing the attention of Burnt Chicken Nugget. Yo, handjob. The kid's waking up. Shigaraki snorted. So what if he is? Aren't you gonna do something? Why'd you bring him down here? A bang echoed through the room as Shigaraki's head was now on the counter. He grunted. He face planted on the table. The way I wrote this sounds like his head was cut off or something like that. XD. Kurogyari stared. Tamura, get up. You have a job to do. He groaned in response, not moving. Izuku started moving again, quiet whines coming from him. Shigaraki sat up straight, putting on his father, then getting up and standing in front of the waking boy. Izuku opened his eyes. He had no reaction whatsoever. Shigaraki sighed. We'd like for you to join the League of Villains. This is your best option, he said gruffly. The boy's eyes widened, not exactly with surprise, but with an emotion you wouldn't expect. But he tilted his head to the side, grinning. What's my other option? Shigaraki let out a dry laugh. We can complete your wish. Izuku stared at him, seeming to be lost in thought. His facial features were no longer filled to the brim with happiness, instead seeming hollow and empty. Why do you want me in the league? It's not like I'll be much help. Dabi tensed, not liking at all what the boy was saying about himself. Handjob took off the hand on his face, leaning forward slightly. You're not useless if All for One finds a purpose in you. Izuku frowns. Does he want to steal my quirk? Or kill me? He says flatly. Dabi chuckles, Kurogyari looking like he was shaking his head, but he's a misty-like creature, so who knows. This time Shigaraki frowns. It's best you not know until we can fully trust you. Izuku laughs. So you ask me to join, saying I have a special place if I do, but you won't tell me what it is. A loud scream echoed from where Toga was, Izuku now grinning like mad. Well, you haven't told anyone except those you truly trust about your quirk. You should know why we don't tell. Now this caught the boy off guard, and Dabi was now curious to know why. Did All for One tell you? Or did you somehow pick it up from the subtle clues? He said, his voice was now stone cold, literally making the people in the room shiver. It probably would have scared anyone else who knew him personally, since, well, this is the scariest they've seen the green-haired boy. Little did they know, the greenhead was scaring himself as well, along with the weird tingling feeling of joy that came when he started acting like this. It's messed up, probably going to drive him crazy. The crusty man took a step back, his face seeming to darken. That's not the point of this conversation. I asked you a question, it's your turn to answer. Shigaraki said after what felt like an eternity. He reached forward and just ruffled the green locks, surprisingly affectionate. It's up to you. I'd rather not have any more family BLD on my hands. This took everyone in the room off guard. Dabi stood up straight. Family BLD. What the hell does that mean? Shigaraki dropped his hand, Izuku's eyes watching it as he seemed to become lost in thought. It's something personal. But Sensei said that he was important. I only found this out earlier. Shigaraki grunted, forcing out his words. The sound of metal slamming into more metal echoed the room. They all turned to stare at the door behind Izuku. The only one who didn't look being too lost in thought to care. Toga busted down the door, her crazed eyes bloodshot, making her seem like she lost her mind. What's up, F-airs? I'm back. She swung her knives around in an arc, twirling a few times before slamming her foot on the ground and throwing the knife just above Izuku's head, straight at the picture of All Might on the wall. If it were the real person, then he'd have a knife going straight through his hemispheres. I'm thirsty. Someone hand me one of my BLD packets before I murder everyone in this room, she demanded. No one seemed to be scared, Kurogyari momentarily ducking under the bar table, coming back up with a container. She lunged towards the table, slamming her hands on it, drool leaking from her lips. Kurogyari poured the contents into a cup, handing it to her. She drank it all in just a gulp. Dabi cringed. Why do we have her again? Shigaraki shrugged as Toga drank like 3 more cups of that crimson liquid. So, we're like cousins. Shigaraki froze. Dabi looking at the two. Didn't take long to figure that out, huh? Izuku shifted in his chair, his head down so you couldn't see his face. How was it like? Everyone was now looking at him. How was what like? Shigaraki asked. How was it like, to have a father-like figure there for you when you needed him? Then being ripped away from your life all over again only to have one known person in your family to be also taken away. Izuku's voice was darkening, the lights in the bar flickered, adding to the creepiness. He then looked up at them, tears strolling down his face. What's different is that the tears were leaving red marks down his freckled cheeks. My own father left me for 15 years. And I find out that he's been here all this time and hasn't visited or even contacted us once. And now he wants to see me. After Mom died. He cried out. Shigaraki was speechless, Dabi shocked, Toga ing about the drama, and Kurogyari listening in on his rambles. His head hung low again, staring at the ground. I find out that I do have living family. That are alive. Yet I still don't feel wanted. Izuku whimpers. Toga gets off her seat and hugs him, patting his head, shushing his ear. It's okay, Izuku-kun, you're all right now, she says. Dabi giving her weird looks. Izuku sobs until he passes out. Shigaraki looking like he was carved from literal stone, any emotion had been chipped away. He turns to Dabi, his face still grim. Take him back to your room. Let him sleep for now. Dabi nodded, not saying anything since, well, Shigaraki was clearly in a bad mood, and he did not want to be the one who made it worse. Picking up the sleeping boy, flipping off Toga who whined when he took the green head away. Carrying Izuku to his room, laying him down in the bed and just making him comfortable. As he was about to leave, the boy whimpered, catching Dabi's attention. He looked back to see Izuku tossing and turning. He sighed. A thought crossed his mind, knowing that it was probably stupid, he leaned down against the bed, closer to the sleeping boy, placing a gentle kiss on his forehead. To his surprise, the boy stopped moving. A small smile spread on his lips as his breath started to even out. Dabi couldn't help the smirk that grew on his face. Good night, Izuku. He whispered, then left the room silently, closing the door behind him. When Dabi got back downstairs, there was another guy standing next to the metal chair Izuku had been sitting on. So, what have you come back here for? Shigaraki asked, leaning on the counter. Father, it was on his face again. The man sighed, wringing one hand through his black hair with silver stripes. You know that new kid you got from that UA incident? What's the BS's name? Izuku Midoriya. Dabi tensed, so did Toga, both glancing to see what Shigaraki would do. The other villains in the room, including Twice, Mr. Compress, Spinner and a few others were listening in on the conversation. Yeah, what about him? The man leaned on the chair, a devilish smirk on his face. Why don't we, kill the kid? We haven't done anything much recently, it'd be nice to let off some steam. The villains contemplated amongst themselves, agreeing. But Shigaraki didn't say anything, nor did Toga, Dabi or Kurogyari. The man frowned. Okay, maybe we don't kill him, just torture him instead. Ryoki Satsujinki, I expected more from you. Shigaraki finally said. Confusion etched its way onto the guy known as Ryoki's face. Shigaraki stood up from his seat. The boy is important, we need him alive and in working order. Still, why can't we just do something to make that hero brat's life worse? He is a hero, ain't he? The very same people that took down All for One. Don't you want some sort of revenge? The other villains silently agreed. Shigaraki remained silent too. Dabi clenched his fists, but before he could do or say anything, Toga ran at the man, swiftly putting her knife under his chin. We are not torturing Izuku. He doesn't deserve it. He may be a hero, but he is still human like us. Might even be exactly like us. Broken from hero society, being pushed away as outcasts. You saw on the news how they were bashing him and that angry Pomeranian. He's like us. We can't just hurt him. Ryoki stared her down. We are not having a hero become a villain like us. He could become a spy in this organization. He is still a hero after all. He spat. Dabi stepped in, making most of the villains look at him. Toga is right. The boy is broken, even more so than us. If we kill him, we're wasting our chances on having a formidable villain on our side. Killing or torturing him won't help anything since most of the world thinks he's dead. Wouldn't you think it'll be a more devastating blow if we turn the symbol's crown jewel into a villain the world would fear? His words swayed most of the villains. Ryoki snorted. So what if he'll be a great villain? What's the brat going to do? He's not strong enough. Dabi was becoming furious. Same goes for Toga. Through proper guidance and training he'll be the most malicious villain you'll ever see. I'm willing to bet that he'll even become the most feared villain on the planet. He snarled, walking closer to him. Toga took a step back, glancing at Shigaraki. The handyman sighed. We aren't going to harm him, Ryoki. It's best if you leave immediately, BSTRD. Or else, I know a few people in this room are wanting to kill you, so I'm giving you the head start to run. The man bolted, literal dust billowing up in his wake. You let him run. Toga shouted. Shigaraki shrugged. Never said you couldn't follow. Toga let out a shrill cry, thundering after the man, her knives glinting red in the darkness. Dabi turned to face the hand villain, still looking furious. Why didn't you interfere in all that? He wanted to kill your cousin. One of your only relatives. Shigaraki shrugged again. I wanted to see how you'd react. You should know that I wouldn't allow him to kill Izuku. Didn't you used to call him brat? Dabi sneered. Shigaraki unhooked a hand and threw it at his face, missing. Like I said, I wouldn't allow anyone to harm the brat. He's family, although I think you and Kurojiiri are the only people who know that. He says, taking a sip of whatever Kurojiiri gave him to drink. A few moments later, Toga came back looking like she bathed in tomato juice, holding a bucket with her filled to the brim with the same liquid. She laughed giddily. I love BLD, Katsuki Bakugo's POV, this idiot. So it does work, Bakugo. Shitty hair tripped and fell flat on his face. Raccoon Eyes laughed. Yeah. Kiria's right. This'll work really well for stealth missions if you were really quiet when the smoke comes out. She yelled. The girl with black hair stood to the side, her hands in the air with her eyes closed. She is correct, Bakugo. I guess it never occurred for you to be stealthy in battle since, well, you always strike first. Her voice was wavering. She was the only one not affected by the loud explosions that had taken place. Teach, technically it wasn't your idea, shitty hair. You just copied a bunch of grenades. I mean, it's not the worst idea, figuring out how to make flashes and smoke explosions. Shitty hair sat up from the ground, rubbing his eyes and blinking. I still can't see anything. Raccoon Eyes glances around before screaming. I can't hear anything. Bakugo has made a nickname for her, why? Licorice hair. Can you fix them? She blinked a few times, seeming confused, before nodding. Swiftly walking over to Raccoon Eyes first, placing a hand on her forehead. After a few seconds, she let go and ran over to Shitty Hair, doing the same. Oh, I can hear again. Raccoon Eyes exclaimed. Everything's not white anymore. Thanks, Rorai. Shitty Hair said, getting up. Licorice hair flushed again. And no problem. Turning over to me. Licorice hair. Is that? She glanced at Raccoon Eyes, who gave a thumbs up. Bakugo always gives people nicknames. It's normal, don't worry about it. She explained, grinning. Licorice hair nodded, seeming to realize something. It's a bit weird, but I think I'll get used to it. I have one question though, you know Midoriya, right? The boy I saved. What's his nickname? I've heard everyone else's but not his. If it's okay to ask. She asked, waving her arms in the air when the group seemed upset at the question. Deku. She looked at me. Huh. His nickname is Deku. I snarled, she winced. Hey, I just realized. Midoriya is the only one with a nickname that isn't a visible thing. Raccoon Eyes said. Shitty Hair nodded. That's right. All of ours is describing a physical feature, while his just means. He trailed off after seeing the glare that shot his way. He must be really special to you, huh? I stare at her, turning away angrily. Whatever, let's just continue. I said, raising my fists, watching the sparks illuminate my palm. The other three got into fighting stances, two of them grinning while the other looks determined. Huh. Die extras. Izuku's POV, everything hurts. I'm not kidding, I have a headache, my forehead feels like it's on fire, my stomach is churning, and my eyes won't open. If that wasn't worrying, I was lying on the ground instead of the bed, trying to get something to eat. Am I going to die? Better not. Dying of starvation is not heroic or even cool. What? I hear the metal door slide open, seeing the bit of light that filtered through. SHT, I whimpered. I felt myself being picked up by strong arms, not being able to move at all. I felt so helpless. Shigaraki. Toga. 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐬𝐵. We have a problem. Get your fat asses here now. The pounding sound of footsteps signaled that the said people were here. What the F is happening? Shigaraki said blankly. My vision cleared for a bit, seeing the other people at the door, Toga stumbling towards me holding an odd container. The strong scent of BLD filled my senses. Whatever happened next was a blur, only hearing yells and screams as my body moved on its own. There was suddenly a liquid flowing down my throat. The taste was bitter yet sweet at the same time, filling up my empty stomach, leaving me not as hungry as before. My vision was blank, but I could tell that I was moving. Then I stopped. It all felt surreal, like a dream or something. I woke up again, this time in a crouching position, with something shattered on the ground. There was a metallic taste in my mouth, liking my lips and feeling oddly full due to its tasty flavor. I looked around to see Toga, Shigaraki, and Dabi standing far away from me. Did he just? Dabi stuttered, eyes wide and an odd look of satisfaction. I stare in confusion. What happened? I asked, looking at the shattered remains of what seemed to be the same container Toga had been holding before. The blonde squealed happily. Izuku, you just drank BLD. I continued to stare, wiping my lips to see the red liquid on my hands. Shigaraki coughed, getting my attention. Try not to eat anybody, all right? Earning a whack to the head from Toga. I'm still hungry. I muttered, Dabi hearing. Okay, I'll get 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐬𝐵 to make something. Leaving the room, Toga walked over to me, still grinning. Do you want to be BLD partners? We can go out hunting people at night for some more tasty BLD if you want. Do you think you have Renfield syndrome? That's awesome if you do. I do too. But mine is severe. I think yours is the same. That's awesome. She babbled. Porphyria? I asked. She nodded. Condition for the overwhelming need to drink human BLD. I didn't have it before, but due to my quirk, well, I guess it's easy to get. What about you? Why do you think you suddenly got it? I shrug, sitting properly with my knees folded in front of me. I don't know, but I got this same feeling after. The memory of All Might and Mom's body briefly flashed in my mind. I'd rather not talk about it. Whose BLD was that anyways? It was sour. Toga grinned wickedly. That was Ryoki's BLD. The man that tried to kill you. She cheered. Kill me? What? She shrugged. Don't know, don't care. He's dead anyways, so it doesn't matter. Dabi came back holding a metal tray, presumably filled with food. Oi, crazy off the kid. She obeyed, sticking out her tongue at him. He placed the tray in front of me, the other two leaving the room. Need me to feed you? He asked. I shrugged, leaning against the bed behind me. He groaned. Yes or no? I may be weak, but that does not mean I can't use a fork. I replied. He snorted. Fine. Backing up as I reached out for the food. I eyed it warily. What is it now? I looked him straight in the eyes. It's not poisoned, is it? The room was silent. Dobby staring at me like no one ever has. I can't help but shiver under his gaze. Are you serious? Face palming, he snatched the utensil from my grasp, stabbing a piece of the veggie and putting it in his mouth. Swallowing after a bit him chewing. I bit my lip, trying to hold back my laughter at the seriousness of his face. Happy. Very. I took the fork and started eating. It tasted bland, probably from me drinking that BLD earlier. Making my palate taste different. BLD too sweet for ya. Shut it. I silently ate up all the food, devouring it all within minutes. Wow, that was nice. Well, what do you expect? You haven't eaten at all these few days. When was the last time you had a proper meal even? Don't tell me. I can't remember. So this is the first time you had a proper meal in like what, a month? Yeah. Snap out of it. I blinked, staring at sky blue eyes in front of me, feeling myself get lost in them before coming back to reality. You back to Earth yet? He asked, giving me a nudge to the side. Too close. I muttered quietly, feeling my face heat up. Immediately he backed away. For some reason, I felt colder without him there. We sat there in silence, deciding not to do anything. I kept on licking my lips, the irony taste of the BLD still remnant. I could feel him staring, but I ignored it, thinking about how other people's BLD might taste like and whether or not it depended on the person's behavior, personality, or just their BLD type. Now that makes me hungry again. But not for food. Sorry. My head snapped up, staring at the stitched-up villain. Sorry. Dobby let out a low growl. I'm sorry for starving you. I guess I forgot that you needed to eat. I normally just take for myself, so I naturally forgot out of habit. He said offhandedly. I nodded. Sorry for worrying you. He shakes his head. Don't be. It's technically my fault anyways. No, it's not, well, not entirely. I sigh. He chuckles. Sure, or something else. Huh. Nothing, you heard nothing. I'm going back down. If you want you can join, but it's not recommended since most of them think you're a hero still. And you don't want to know what happens to heroes here. He says, getting up. I curled up on the floor. Hearing another sigh, I'm wrapped in his arms again, lifting me up from my spot on the ground. I squirmed a little bit, before being dropped onto the bed. Before I can say anything, he left the room. Welp, that's great. I don't know what to say to you anymore. You don't need to reply, though I prefer you do, because it gets lonely in here. And where? You're in my head. You're just a thought that won't go away. Just a thought. Really? I told you my name is Banshee. Use the name. I'm a real person. Like you. Like me. Treated like garbage. You're not treated like garbage. For villains, they're treating you like you're a baby or something. How would you know? I'm a villain. What? I'm a villain. What are you doing in my head? I am not obligated to answer. Just tell me. What's the point of keeping secrets when you're a part of me? I may be a part of you, but it's not by choice. So you were forced. By who? Was it a quirk that did this to you? Then what happened? I don't want to talk about it. Why not? You tell me this much but decide to not say the rest. I have boundaries. So, you know so much about me already, but I know nearly nothing about you. Nothing to say, huh? That's it. Lie down and close your eyes. Just do it. Pretend or act like you're sleeping. Okay, fine. I lay down on the bed, bearing a scowl on my face. I can't believe I'm doing this. Well, you are, deal with it. Okay, what now? I waited for a few minutes, nothing seemed to happen. Were you just tricking me? My mind became fuzzy, panicking setting in. Calm down, it's just me. My eyelids drooped, feeling tired, I dozed off into a familiar pit of darkness. Dreamscape/memory. 3rd/Izuku/. POV. Most of what I'm writing here is based on the video above. I copied some things but the rest is actually my idea. The land was empty. It was just pitch black darkness. An endless abyss of nothing. Izuku floated in that space, being disoriented since everything looked the same and not knowing what is up or down, left or right. Where am I? His voice carried for what seemed like miles, but at the same time barely any noise was heard. Suddenly he was plunged downward. Eyes widening as red, orange, and yellow glowed below him, zooming closer as he fell, landing somewhere, no longer in his comfortable bed. He blinked what seemed like ash out of his eyes, coughing out smoke. What the dash? He was cut off by the sight ahead. The land that seemed to be Mustafa, Japan, was on fire. He gasped, seeing all the wreckage. The distant smell of rotting and death filling his senses. Buildings, vehicles, and anything else that had once been to make up the city, now ask you as if the literal pits of hell had risen up and taken its place here. There was no place where something gruesome hadn't happened. Walking through the rubble, observing the destruction with tears beginning to flow from his eyes. What is this? Izuku was terrified, yet felt so sad and empty. So many dead people. Going around some more, you can see bodies of heroes, villains, and citizens alike littering the grounds like spilled water. Finding a spot that shook him to the core, making him nearly unload his stomach at the sight. All Might in his normal form, hanging from the tip of a building. His arms and legs gone, being skewered onto the structure. Right under him were giant letters written in BLD, symbol of peace. Izuku was crying no. He was sobbing. Why showing me? He wailed. The ground shifted, the view around him twirling and twisting, bringing him elsewhere. The area was still on fire, but less damage had been done. There was a man, limping across the area. The gauntlets on his hands were impossible to not recognize. Kacchan! He shouted. But the blonde paid him no mind, not even sparing him a glance. He can't hear or see you, Izu. The blonde stopped moving. His face one of anguish and despair. Up ahead, some of the rubble had been pushed aside, revealing a green-haired male who was smiling down on him. Elegantly leaping down so he was just a few meters away. Nice seeing you here, Lord Explosion Murder. The man laughed maniacally. Bakugo growled. Izuku staring in shock, dread and realization soon connecting in his mind. UBSDRD. What? The blonde cried out. The other male only chuckled. Izuku falling to his knees as he watched the scene unfold. There's always a reason for everything. Ain't that right, Kacchan? He cooed, his red eyes glowing in the dark. I killed everyone. I did this. Banshee is me. Izuku's POV. I jolted awake, my stomach churning as I felt something rise in my throat. Getting off the bed and stumbling into the bathroom. Barely making it to the toilet as the contents of whatever I ate was unloaded. My body quaked, remembering what I had seen. I sat beside the bowl, clutching my stomach while salty tears rolled down my cheek. Don't worry, it won't happen here. You killed everyone. I shouted. It wasn't my choice. But you didn't have to. Everyone has a choice to choose. I retched, nothing but bile leaving my lips. I was trying to help them. By murdering everyone. Do you know how twisted that sounds? This is why I killed them so mercilessly. They think I'm crazy. They don't understand, and I guess I don't understand myself either. I can't believe we're the same person. You're a monster. I whimpered. I'm done talking. Come back when you're not being a crybaby. Silence. I sobbed into my arms. The images stuck in my head like gum on shoe. I lay there for who knows how long before the door opens again. Dabi rushed to my side, hugging him tightly as he got close. I could tell he was flustered, but I couldn't give two DMs about it. Izuku, you alright? Why you crying again? I snuggled my face deeper into his clothes, getting the smell of cinnamon again. Did you puke out all of your lunch? Are you sick or something? This is not healthy. He mutters, worry weaving its way through his voice. I pull away, still clutching onto his coat. I'm sorry. I hiccup and he pats my back. There's no need to be sorry. You're having a hard time, so this should be normal. I'd be even more worried if you still acted like the world was all cookies and rainbows. How can a villain be so understanding? Okay. I snuggled deeper into his clothing, making him fall backwards a bit. We stayed there in silence, awkward silence for Dabi but comfortable for me. Then I heard the sound of a picture being taken, hearing growling from Dabi. Oh. Stitch Face and Izuku are cuddling. Shiggy, come have a look-see. I have blackmail. Toga squealed with joy, caressing her phone with the precious images. I quickly got off of him as he stood up, charging towards the door where the blonde had began running. You crazy beach! He screamed. Shiggy, help me. Burnt chicken is trying to murder me. Diamen right I am. They yelled. I laughed at their childish manner. I then remembered that I haven't taken a shower in like 4 days. Time flies by quickly. Oh, so now you're talking. Do you know how lonely it gets here? I snorted, wiping my eyes and getting up slowly. Before leaving the bathroom to ask Dabi if I can shower, I turned to see my reflection in the mirror, my eyes widening at the sight. Having not seen myself at all during the whole getting kidnapped and taken care of by the LOV situation, I could never have guessed what I looked like now. My eyes were messed up. My right eye was now gleaming a bright red in this light, my hair was messier than usual, and there was something just below my hair, only showing a small strp of red on my forehead. Curiously, I lift my green bangs out of the way. I need to cut my hair. What I saw wasn't all that surprising. There was a scar, looking like a crack in my head, which is true since I probably broke my skull from my earlier suicide attempt. Very lucky to be alive. If you look closely, the scar had actually stretched down all the way to just below my red eye. Kind of like a small upside-down red triangle on my cheek. It made me look, how do I put it? But as, okay sure. I lean off the counter, glaring at the sink. What the hell is wrong with me? First attempting suicide. Second now having a BLD addiction, and now I feel like I'm on the path of darkness. I yelled. My body was shaking uncontrollably from what? I'm not exactly sure. I growled, scratching at my head, more specifically the scar. It started to burn and sting, almost painfully. I squeezed my eyes shut and sighed. Why is life like this? There was distant screaming coming from somewhere. I ignored it, sitting down with my back to the counter where the sink was, hugging my knees to my chest. The screaming was getting louder. I assumed it was Toga, but it wasn't her voice. The scar now felt like there was a hammer ramming me in the head. I groaned, rubbing the scar. The screaming was now shrieking in my ears, blocking out all other noise. Who is screaming? This was faced with a loud cry from Banshee. I shut my eyes, willing myself to at least try and do something to stop him from screaming. I think I passed out, well, if the darkness was anything to go by. What looked like me, screaming as he clawed at himself sitting in the middle of everything. There were things flying around him, shooting some sort of blue energy. I was confused at first until I recognized one of them. All Might. I shouted. The pale ghost-like figures didn't seem to hear me, being too busy with attacking Banshee. At one point, one of the past one for all holders shot Banshee through the chest. What looked like BLD blasted out. I coughed, feeling like my heart had been ripped out of my chest. I screamed in pain, my cries mixing with Banshee's. This caught the attention of the ghosts, stopping their attack. I sat on the ground of nothing, breathing as the pain stopped. Banshee was lying on the ground, his wound healing. All Might floated towards me, his face sad and agonized. Young Midoriya. He addressed. I had tears in my eyes, seeing my old mentor and idol in front of me. It felt like a dream, but it was real. All Might. I wheezed. His colors and features slowly came into vision, instead of being a pale blue and white blur. He nodded, reaching down toward me and embracing me in a tight hug. I smiled while tears fell. How did you get here? He asked, pulling away. I shrug. I guess I passed out. From pain. He stares. What? Is it that villain in your body that causes it? He points at Banshee, who has now sat up and is looking really bored. I shake my head. No. He hasn't done anything to hurt me. He actually helps sometimes. Banshee PPS his head at me. The other wielders of One for All had faded away. Nana Shimura had stayed. I did. Now I remember, well, I've helped you multiple times but have never gotten thanked. But I guess since we're the same person, it's like I'm helping myself. He grumbled. All Might seemed shocked. That's you, Midoriya. I laughed nervously. It's my first time seeing what he looked like. It isn't too hard to tell who he was, but if he was just out of context, then you'd think he was a whole other person. Yeah, I am just a villain him. Please don't attack me again. I'd hate to kill you a second time, even though you're already dead. All Might glared at him. I may be dead, but I can still irradiate you from Midoriya's body. Banshee snorted. I wish. It's not like I want to be here. But if you remove me, you'll kill Izuku in the process. I tilt my head. How exactly? Generally curious, All Might now had a stern look on his face. We're not going to remove him, Izuku. You won't die. So stop asking. Banshee frowned. I am cursed. I only leave my host's body when they die, so I can feel the most amount of pain as possible. From the person and their emotions. It's really agonizing. I'm surprised I haven't gone crazy yet. Banshee kept on muttering, his bright red eyes glinting. Everyone just staring at him, the same thing ringing through all their minds. He already is crazy. Cursed. What the heck are you talking about? I asked, confused. He shrugged. Forget about it. And, you know being here counts as using your quirk, right? I shudder. What do the cuffs do if I manage to break through it? He shrugged. All Might and Nana Shimura looked at both of us, being lost in the conversation. Izuku, it's best you leave now. To hopefully not cause any further damage. Nana spoke finally. Banshee sighed. You're lucky, Izu. You got these guardian angels looking after you while I got hell and heaven in my grasp. Not a good combo. I ignore him, his cryptic speech is always hard to decipher. All Might and Nana regarding it as a joke. Alright. How do I get out of here? I squint through the darkness, as if something will magically pop out of nowhere and have all the answers to my questions. Nana smiles. It was a really sweet one, like it was telling me everything was going to be okay. Just let yourself rest. Kind of like falling asleep. I nod, calming myself by taking deep breaths. Did it work? I asked, getting no response. I opened my eyes, which had shut during my breathing session, only to see that I was back in the bathroom, sitting on the ground. There was also now screaming coming from downstairs instead of my head, and the voice was familiar, being a screeching sound I've heard oh so many times. Toga is legit dying. I laugh, getting up on numb legs. My neck burns. I take a glance at the mirror. Just a little bit of BLD leaking from the collar. Totally fine. I try using One for All, just by flicking my fingers at the window. The wall is gone. I stare at the empty space that used to have been a brick structure with a window and bars. Turning around, I whistle and walk out of the room. I wonder what Dabi's going to think when he sees that. It's your chance to escape. You can leave and go back to your own life. I stop at the door of the room, my hand just clasping the handle. My eyes turn to the other door in the room. I bit my lip. Millions of thoughts swarmed my head as I stared at the door. I have two choices. Depending on which I take will have a devastating impact on what happens in my future. Just which one is the right path to take. I still kind of want to be a hero, but I don't think I'll be able to take all that hate and abuse. If I stay, I could die or become a villain, which also has a risk of dying. But then again, you can die being a hero too, but you kind of die with honor since you're giving your life to the people you save. But who would even give me a second thought if I die as a hero? Being seen as a villain already in everyone's eyes, there isn't really a great difference between these two paths. It's just switching sides. So, what's your choice? I just have one more question for myself. Do I want to go back? Greeny Beanie's POV still standing at the door, contemplating whether or not to stay or leave. It's up to you, I won't try to stop you, no matter what you choose. I nod. It's not like you have a say in this. So, what are you going to choose? You don't have a lot of time. I'm betting they probably heard the noise. I took a deep breath. Then, I opened the door and went down the stairs to the bar area. Nice choice. Seeing the other villains, noticing Toga was screaming at Shigaraki and that there was a pile of ash on the floor. Dabi was grinning like he had just defeated the boss of a very hard video game by himself, leaning against the bar stool with his arms over his head. You were supposed to catch it, not destroy it. Now I have no blackmail. She screamed, shaking as kept on yelling. Never mind, they can't hear 𝐒𝐮𝐸𝐵 if she was screaming like that for the past 10 minutes. I coughed loudly to get their attention. All the villains turned to stare at me. It was horrifying, feeling all the eyes of these people that may want to kill me. Twice tilted his head towards me. How'd you get out? He asked in a light voice. I shrugged. The door was unlocked. Toga squeaks, scratching at her neck from all the screaming she had done. Izuku, you're bleeding. She points at my bleeding neck. I poke at the dry BLD, not feeling any pain when a bit more BLD came out. About that, I said nervously. I blasted the wall in the bathroom with my quirk. I said plainly. Everyone just stared. Dabi's smile had disappeared. Throw a knife through the room and see if anyone notices. I just stare at them. Their faces were all blank. This was including Toga, who stood in the center of the room, standing as straight as possible. They all seemed to be frozen in time. I had held my breath, afraid if I exhaled they'd explode or something. Dabi was the first to move, running up the stairs to his room. This seemed to have broken the spell. Everyone started to move again, but slowly. You did what? Shigaraki asked in disbelief, glancing at the mist villain, 𝐒𝐮𝐸𝐵. Didn't you say that those cuffs wouldn't be able to break? 𝐒𝐮𝐸𝐵 shrugged. Well, I think he shrugged. Kind of hard to tell. Remember what type of quirk he has and his IQ. Shigaraki groaned, staring at me. A yell came from upstairs. I became scared. Is he going to hurt me? Nah, this should be normal. Be prepared. Hearing loud stomping all the way down the stairs, I quickly run over to Toga, gripping her shoulders as I hid behind her. She giggled, pulling out a knife and in a defensive stance. Dabi stormed out of the door where the stairs were, glaring around. What the F were you trying to do? He shouted after spotting me. I shiver, clutching onto Toga's arm. Were you trying to escape? He asked, frowning. I shake my head. I was just trying to see if my quirk would work since I accidentally broke the choker. I don't like how I'm at the center of attention right now. Gotta get used to it, Izu, because soon you'll be craving for it. What does that mean? Oh, come on, Stitch Face. It was an accident. Do you think that Izuku is capable of lying? She said, pulling me in front of her. I yelped as she held me close, kind of like a hug from behind. She grabbed my face and squished my cheeks. Dabi seemed to blush, looking away from my direction. Toga, your hands are cold. I muttered. She laughed, letting go. So, what now? I mean, you could have escaped, so why didn't you? Toga asked, her eyes shining. Shigaraki nodded. Yeah, why didn't you? I mean, we put you in Dabi's room for a reason. The wall in his bathroom is actually surrounded by cameras and some traps for just in case. But you decided not to go. Why is that? I don't know how to answer this without going into a mumbling fit. Welp, can I answer for you? But I've always wanted to talk to the League. Well, when they weren't trying to kill me in my world, so may I. I shrugged. Up to you. I muttered under my breath, not bothering to ask why the League had wanted to kill him. Didn't catch that, Izuku. Could you speak louder? Toga took a step closer. I closed my eyes, have the sudden feeling of drowsiness that was now kind of familiar. Darkness impaired my vision as I stumbled to the ground, hearing shouts of protest, though I could not comprehend any of their words. Rest well, Izu, I'll wake you when needed. Banshee's POV. I open my eyes, well, more like this version of Izuku's eyes. Glancing around the room, I could see the curious and worried looks of some of the villains. I knew there were many more since there was around 72 in my world. I mean, I know it's impossible for 72 people to be in the same room. Duh. I brought my hands to my face, closing my fists and unclenching them, trying to seem curious. Izuku, are you okay? Your eyes are glowing red. Toga mumbled in surprise. I put my hands down, eyeing the room, giving a toothy grin. I'm not Izuku. What? I can't think of anything better to say. I mean, they'll probably think I'm crazy until proof that I'm actually real, meaning if I can manifest my original body and split from Aizu. Now that's a lot of work. Yo, we need duct tape to fix the wall. What the F? Shigaraki spoke. I know it may be hard to understand, but please bear with me. I sat down comfortably on a bar stool. The room seems almost exactly the same as the one from my world, only that there weren't any All Might posters, just pictures of me, being their target ever since I killed the symbol. Everyone seemed suspicious, being wary of me. I sighed. Want me to explain it now? It's a rather long story if I'm being honest. But I can put it into a short form. Take your pick, short, extra short, normal, or long. Why can't you just explain it to us? Shigaraki asked, staring at the wall behind me. I smirked. What's the fun in that? Can't someone play with their prey once in a while? Remember, you're the one who got kidnapped. Ah, Izuku was the one who got kidnapped. I'm more like a parasite in his head if that's what you want to call it. It's a synonym. I'm not an actual parasite. I do, however, have similar qualities to one. I said, doing odd hand movements while speaking. They stared at me like I was mad. I mean, more than half of them here are already crazy. Maybe I'm just too out of the ordinary. A parasite. The man I think is Spinner echoed. Yep. If you want to go into a bit more detail. No, actual a lot more detail, then I'll tell you. No buts, I've made up my mind, so sit your villain buttes down and listen to this story. Toga being surprised and mock-gasping as she heard me swear, I rolled my eyes at her. They all reluctantly found places to either stand or sit. Some of them decided it would be a good idea to leave or just not pay attention. Whatever. I could just force them to if I wanted to, but nah. So, once upon a time, Memory Lane Banshee's POV, the world was scorching. The heat radiating off the Earth's crust could give way at any moment. The molten core was overheating. All of this destruction. For what? Nearly everyone in the planet was dead. How did I achieve it? The help of demons and angel coming to collect those sad souls. Literally. I'm not sure if it's a gift to be able to speak with the unnatural. May I say it as a curse? They do mean good though. They keep the spirits of those I killed out of my mind instead of haunting me and driving me near insanity. But that's inevitable. Hearing their screams and shouts of rage right before their death was more than enough punishment. That's where the name came from. Banshee, meaning, well, screaming spirit. I take it after my newfound quirk. Even though I was not born with this power, I'm glad to call it my own. Standing on mountains of rubble and possibly many more bodies, I can see a fraction of the burning world. That fraction was the city of Mustafa, located in Japan. I say a fraction of the burning world for a reason. This was just a small amount of the burning wreckage. I'm terrified of what I did. I wanted to be a hero, you know. But fate always has a way of messing the slightest of things up. At least this is a better fate than what they should have had. That's what I constantly tell myself. The skies were now empty, not a cloud in sight. The molten core was overheating because all the spirits down there that had existed in that type of environment are now gone. No longer feasting on the heat, which now broke through the surface of the earth. The spirits in the sky had vacated, taking the clouds with them as sign of the now empty domain. There were some people still alive. I can practically feel their hatred towards me. I deserve it. I know I do, but if they listened to my reasons like how some people did, they'd understand. I even had a few take their own lives because of how much they believed in me. I hate it. Why did such kind, innocent people have to die because of this stupid monster that was supposed to destroy Earth? I'm not crazy. I'm not. Well, kind of, when I want to be, but seriously. I wouldn't have killed them without a reason. I know, you probably think I'm out of my mind, like, why the hell did you do all of this? What's the point in murdering the whole planet? What's the point? Well, if I told you, I'd be written down in history as the craziest and most insane person in the world. That's over-exaggerating. And my vision turned out to be 100% right. Oh hush, I'm getting to it. The whole reason of why I murdered everyone. It's not complicated, just hard to understand or even comprehend. Even my closest friends didn't believe me. Ida and Uraraka. They were one of the first to die. When I told the world of my vision, I had been sent to a mental hospital. Not one where they help you like in the modern-day ones. This was more like the prison you see in all those horror stories of mental people that had been sent to a certain establishment where everyone was in a cell, some screaming bloody murder, some being strapped to their bed, chair, wall. Oh, how I hated it there. It would have eaten anyone's sanity away. They kept me in there for 10 years. 10 years. Only because I was seen most of the time speaking to the wall. Not my fault the demons from hell and the angels from heaven decided to bother me. I just can't with this world. I still remember when everything was fine. Before the vision supposed God had sent me as a message, a warning. I wish that DMN monster hadn't even come to our planet. Why couldn't it destroy something else? Why our home? Why was I chosen to kill everyone? Tell me. How would you react when you get a vision from God telling you that your world was about to end and that you'd have to kill nearly everyone in order to stop that beast from getting stronger and doing the same to other worlds? Would you ignore it? Or would you do something about it? Seeing the vision, as it recurred in your dreams every night, becoming more detailed each and every time you close your eyes, warning you that it was coming, closer and closer. And when that day arrived, you're confronted with an old friend, or shall I say lover in my world. You know they're going to die, so will you. In my situation, I allowed him to kill me. That dumbass ash blonde. He didn't. I couldn't kill him. I can't stand to have his BLD on my hands. He's also too smart to get caught in my quirk, so he lived. In the end, I guess it didn't matter, we both died together. I got to be his hero for one last and final time, and that monster destroyed our planet. That DMN monster. You had to ruin everything. My chance on being a hero in everyone's eyes, having a family, being genuinely happy. Something I haven't felt for a long time. If I'm being honest, I wouldn't have changed anything at that point in time, when I was fighting the monster with Kacchan. I don't regret anything that happened there. I was truly happy when I saved his life from its bloody claws. It's the first time I've felt happiness in 26 years. I feel like I'm still at UA sometimes. I'm just so childish. I wish my friends were still alive, but I don't regret killing them. No, I don't. They died early so they didn't have to see how broken I was, unlike Kacchan. I can still remember that one last final fight. The monster was relentless, having no mercy or even emotion other than rage. It was a gruesome sight. If we forget the past and look at what was happening, you'd think that this was the creature that had destroyed the lands. I'm glad no one saw the battle. So no one saw the one last cringy thing me and Kacchan did while we died. All I want to remember from that day was the point where I died. Not alone like I thought would be, but with someone holding me as my heart stopped. It may have broken my heart when he started crying for me, but that doesn't matter. I saved him from having the same fate as me. Saved him from serving different versions of myself as a punishment. Dying over and over again. I became his hero, for just a few moments. It was worth it though, knowing that everyone I loved was at rest, and Third POV. Everyone was staring at the greenette that deemed himself as Banshee. He had a grim look on his face as he surveyed the villains, not impressed. Don't take it as a made-up fairy tale story, it's all true. If you don't believe me, then shove your brain up your butt. He retorted. Dabi shuffled. It is kind of hard to believe. What about the other villains on your planet? Wouldn't they have tried to stop you? They did. I was actually their target for a while, but in the end I killed them all. The meaning another version of you guys. It's nice to know that y'all aren't just bristling with BLD and murder. Shigaraki shrugged. I doubt that you were able to fight us all on your own. Banshee flicked his eyes over the crispy boy. It took around 1 minute to take you down. It's easy actually, just cut off those stupid hands. You can't disintegrate anything without all 5 fingers, so with no hands, no fingers. He stuck out his tongue. So, did you have a thing with Bakugo? Toga asked, earning herself a glare. No, I wouldn't say we were in any kind of relationship. Even if we were, it ended the moment it started. He snorted. But you did like him, right? The green head seemed to burn holes through her head, The scar on his head began to glow, a faint blush dusting his cheeks. I never said I did. Now shut it, blonde. Shigaraki huffed. At least admit you fancied that hero boy. Banshee scowled, a look the LOV wasn't used to from the boy known as Izuku, who was a little ball of light and well. Cuteness. Anyways. Toga broke the silence. You didn't answer our question. Banshee shrugged. I'm not your Izuku, it was his decision to stay with you guys. I only heard a bit of the reason why, but for full details it's better to ask him. Could you tell us what you heard? Twice asked, his voice deep. He nodded. Yeah, something along the lines of, there wouldn't be a difference if I go back or not. Both and in the same place, hated and or dead. The villains just stared, taking time to comprehend what he said. What does that mean? Being hated? Toga asked stupidly. Dabi frowned. You know why, when we were scouting him out. You could see the hatred that people gave him. The UA students pushed him so far that he even tried to commit suicide. But that shouldn't be enough to make someone do that. Hate can be ignored. There must have been something else. A different reason. Toga shot back, having experience in that department. Wow, for a blonde you are smarter than I gave you credit for. Banshee remarked. This made many people in the room chuckle, Toga stomping her foot in mock anger. That is true, a day before he committed suicide, his mother was murdered. Another deafening silence. Did anyone know about this? Mr. Compress asked, still leaning against the wall during the whole conversation. As far as I know, no one. The police had decided to make it a private investigation. Izuku didn't have the chance to tell anyone since he was preoccupied. His brows knitted together, red eyes turning to stare at the wooden floor. I should have helped him more. This might not have happened. Absent-mindedly dragging a hand over the faded patch of skin that served as a reminder of his suicide attempt. Since you're from a different universe, wouldn't you have something different? Instead of being the same as our world, were there any differences other than it being destroyed? Spinner interjected, adding to the conversation. Banshee tilted his head, thinking. Maybe. Well, I was quirkless. Bowing down in a way that resembled a dancer. Quirkless. Izuku was quirkless here too. Shigaraki said quietly. Banshee quirked his brow at him. Really? How did you know? The hand villain leaned back against his stool. It was obvious when we found out he was All Might's successor. No records of him having a quirk before that. Gee, that's nice to hear. My other world cousin is a creep. He tilted his head with a smile. I hope we weren't related in my world, because if we were, the BLD of a relative is on my hands, and I don't like having family BLD on my hands. Any other differences you can recall? Kurogyri finally spoke. Banshee shrugged again. We were all much older in my time. By now I'm probably over 200 years old. Demon, how fast time flies when your life is legit meaningless and all you can do is serve other versions of yourself. How old were you when you died? Dabi asked, the other villains shocked at his current age. I think I was around 37, nodding his head as he said it. You're older than most people here. Toga exclaimed. I'm literally 200 blonde. Use the age of your death beach. Toga shot back with a playful glare. But that's not my actual age. No one asked. Banshee coughed into his hand, getting the attention of some villains. The rest were now going about their daily things. Whatever that may be. You all right? Dabi asked, his time laced with worry. Totally fine. Banshee smiled, sitting up straight. But I think it's time to SWH back. I'm not sure how long I'm supposed to tack over, and this was by far the longest time. Banshee informed, the hand he couched into behind his back. I don't know if there are any drawbacks of me taking control and I'd rather not risk finding out. Shigaraki nodded. Fine, go back to Burnt Nugget's room if you need to. Dabi sending glares at the villain. He grinned, turning and skipping towards the rooms. As he entered the room he was assigned to, he let out another fit of coughs. A crimson liquid leaking onto his hands as he wiped it away. I guess it's true when people say having two souls in one body can be dangerous. walking to the bed and lying down, getting comfortable before releasing his grip on the body, allowing himself to slip back into the deep thicket of darkness somewhere in the mind. Time skipped to when Izuku wakes up. Also his POV, I was forcefully kicked out of whatever dream I had. Lying down on what I think is Dabi's bed, I stare at the ceiling, glaring at it as though it had offended me in some way. But slowly sitting up, feeling oddly refreshed and a little bit hungry, I decide to maybe go down and try to have a chat with the villains. Maybe. Is the door even locked? Am I allowed to go? Checking to make sure, the door was indeed unlocked. Alright, Bansh. Are you there? No response. Maybe he doesn't want to talk. I don't remember anything that happened before he took over. Maybe he's tired. Walking down, I hear some chatter. Peeking through the door, I can see some of the villains inside. Still the same ones from earlier. I wonder how long I was asleep for. Opening it and getting some side glances, but no one really seemed to care. Except for a particular blonde. Toga engulfed me in a hug. I stumbled a bit, being surprised. Izuku-san, you're back. How was your small nap? She asked, pulling away. I shrugged. I honestly don't know. I didn't dream of anything, just woke up and decided to talk with you guys. That is, if you want it. Shigaraki spoke. You got some explaining to do, Midoriya. I stare. You know Banshee, the alternate version of you. Toga interjected, pointing with her knife. I nod. He's a villain, right? I nod again. Do you want to be a part of the LOV? As the new villain? The one you'll replace? Who? Toga smiled, spinning around again, Dabi sighing in his sad corner. The guy I killed for you. His villain name was Shadow. aka Ryoki Satsujinki. She squealed. You can obviously change the name, but you'll be replacing him. It's your choice. Kurogyari seemed to face palm in the back. Toga Himiko, remember he is still a hero dash, dead hero. I corrected. Dabi tilted his head to the side, his face unreadable. What do you mean by that? I smiled to myself. I'd rather not go back now. Seeing as they think I'm dead. It's better that way, people are glad I'm no longer a hero. If I went back I'll be faced with more hate. And no hero wants that, but a villain does. Which means I get extra recognition. The four villains that were listening had become silent. You're talking like Banshee. Toga finally said, getting a whack in the head from Shigaraki. That should be normal. If he wasn't, then that'd be a problem. Banshee is the version of Midoriya for when he becomes a villain. If our Midoriya becomes a villain, it'll be natural for him to be like this. Kurogyari explains. Everyone just stares at him in bewilderment. No comment, huh? No response from Banshee. So, do you want to join the league? Dabi asked. Do you want me to join the league? I shot back, grinning, my face probably similar to Toga's when on a killing spree. Shigaraki's head flopped on the table again, Toga giggling. Dabi nods, a small smile making its way on his stitched face. He'll be great for the LOV if he can PS his hand job off this easily. The blue-haired male groaned, the hand on his face coming off and laying on the bar table. I hate you. Toga swirled, throwing her knife at the ceiling. Let him join. She shouts. Kurogyari shakes his head. We must remember that he is a hero still, dead hero, that has the choice of betraying or going back to society. I sigh, agreeing because it's true, and I can't say anything since I have no proof other than not deciding to. Can I at least do something not heroic? So I can get a feel of what it's like being a villain. The mist figure seemed to nod. Yes, actually, we have something that you can help with right now. 1 week later. We are currently standing right outside what looks like an abandoned hotel. I mean Toga, Dabi, and myself. Remember the plan? I asked, receiving a grunt and quiet giggling in return. Good. I said, putting on the new mask. The LOV had prepared everything for me, which included my own villain outfit and all the necessities that comes with it. I was wearing a large black cape, an odd shirt that looks like a CRP top. What is this thing made of even? It's like I'm wearing armor. I got a belt with many holders in it for guns, ammo, weapons, etc., Somewhat baggy jeans with even more secret compartments. Wow, how much did they even get me? An odd piece of herd gear along with a mask that seems to filter air and can change the sound of my voice. How expensive is this SHT? Where'd they even get it from? And why give it to me? All of it, dyed in a red and black color. Of course, I was wearing my signature red shoes. Ooh, pick it top. May put another one, edited by me of course. After like a week of training and planning, we finally get to do the mission. All I learned this week was how to throw a knife. Still not perfect at it, but I'm getting there. They also gave me zero information on what we're trying to receive, definitely not steal. All I know is that it's a secret lab that the government organized to make special weapon that can be used to mobilize villains. This can be easily suched as well, villains using these on heroes. That's gonna bring hell to society. Reaching to tap on the mic beside my ear, the small sound of clicks signaling it's on. Shiggy. We're outside waiting for the K. Just like that, the front of the building burst into flames. Blue flames. Smirking, I pulled on the hoodie for my outfit. Let's go. That annoying sound of someone screaming in the background is getting into my head. Toga, please shut the F up. Dabi yelled at her. She wasn't the one screaming, it was the person she was stabbing who was actually screaming. But she was laughing her head off. I groaned. Is this what it's like on missions with her? Welcome to hell, Izu. Dabi said. Izu, is your group done with the lab room? Shiggy's raspy voice spoke through the earpiece I had on. Clicking on it again. Yep. Toga's just finishing off the last one. Do we need to take any of the vials? No, Toga and Dabi should do this part. Tell them to retrieve test vial QK63. He responded. I nodded, even though he couldn't see SHT of what we're doing. He said get vial QK63. Toga nodded, liking the BLD on her knife. Dabi grunting and walking somewhere deeper into the not-so-white room, following behind the BLD dyed blonde into the other room. Why would we need to steal from a poison lab? Does Shiggy want to poison someone? Nah, he could just go buy that elsewhere. These ones here are really dangerous. I've used them a few times, but each vial is different, causing different reactions depending on which you use. I've never heard of QK63, must have been destroyed when I blew up the building. Wow, you know a lot. What can I say? Life in the literal pits of hell, so much time on my hands I can't do anything with it. What else was I supposed to do? Standing near the door of the lab, I could hear the distant sounds of sirens. Dabi. Toga. Quick. The cops are on their way. I shouted. Wait a few more minutes. Dabi shouted back. I tensed. We don't have that much time. The cops are already outside. Maybe a little help. Help would be deeply appreciated. Toga said, peeking her head around the other door to stare at me with pleading eyes. Darting over to them, in the separate room, there was this odd metal door sticking on the side of the wall, an odd see-through layer to show the contents. Inside there were like 5 vials, all with the marks QK63. I growled, pushing them back so they weren't in front of it anymore. Dabi was about to protest that he was trying to melt it, but got cut off by a loud bang as I kicked through the metal using my quirk. The door had caved in on the items, breaking 3 of the vials. I grabbed 2 and moved it into Dabi's hands. I winced, feeling a bit of pain in my leg, but nothing too bad. He never told me how many we needed, but 2 should be fine. Now let's get out of here. We all bolted out of the lab, running through the bloody hallways from Toga's rampage earlier. Nor did Dabi get to kill anyone. It was all Toga. Kurogyri. Handjob. Someone open a portal. Dabi shouted through his earpiece as we ran through the winding halls, shouts and yells coming somewhere else in the building, presumably the police, maybe some heroes. Dabi. Quickly get your group to the top of the building, and when I say to jump. I heard him reply. My eyes widened. Jump. Toga nodded, changing course towards what I think is the emergency exit/staircase. Dabi following after, dragging me along. Running up the stairs, some of which had decided that it wasn't needed anymore, and gave way below our feet as we quickly ascended. Toga was first, kicking down a red door at the top. The glow of afternoon sunlight flowed through the building for a few seconds before we slammed the door shut behind us. Toga was at the edge of the building now, looking down with a cheeky smile. "Hello, cops. Oh, and pro hero 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐬𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸 Woods is here." She cooed. "Toga of the League of Villains, we order you and your fellow League members to stand down. You will not escape." A man that looked like a detective said. After a moment, I realized that it was 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸 time. There is nothing stopping him from being here, but he is a detective, ones that usually investigate when the troublemakers were gone or taken into custody. 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐶 How many papers did you need to fill out for our dear old symbol of peace? Symbol of peace. I asked coolly, my voice sounds so different. I'm scaring myself even. The detective visibly flinched. "A new villain, a part of the League," he said quietly, but we were able to hear it. "Where the hell is 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸 We can't stay here for too long. I already hear huge footsteps somewhere." What? I turned to see a large blonde female wearing a purple, orange, and skin-colored suit. "Dabi, Toga, we're cornered," I said. Dabi glanced behind, letting out a snort. "How long are we going to stand here for? This ain't no show and tell." He shouted into the mic on his ear. The sound of a helicopter above signaled that the news team was here. "Great. Great indeed. Mr. 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸 I'd love to go down with All Might himself. Oh wait, he's already dead. Those poor kids who were blamed for his death, I know for a fact one of them joined him. I shrilled, making sure that DMN news reporter heard everything. Dabi eyed me wearily, Toga just adding to the drama by laughing her head off. Saying that out loud. Felt like I was lifting the guilt off my chest. Ain't that odd? How do you know him? The detective yelled, stalling for the other heroes that were slowly creeping around the building. I huffed. What bullshit? Who wouldn't know All Might's true name? A loud beep caught my attention. I looked at Dabi expectantly. Jump. Shigaraki yelled through the mic. Toga laughed like a maniac. Bye-bye. It was nice seeing you heroes again. Can't wait to slice your throats. She fell over the side of the burning building, disappearing in the rising smoke. The people watching letting out screams, thinking she may have died. Dabi took a running leap down, twisting in midair with his middle finger towards everyone. I couldn't help but laugh at that. You need to jump as well, dumbass. I stopped laughing, looking down. That's a far fall. Oh come on. You've been jumping from roof to roof as a hero. What's so different about this? I haven't done that in a while. Greenie, get your butt down now. The heroes are almost on the roof. Shigaraki shouted in my ear. I gulped, looking around and seeing the news reporter having the camera trained on me. That odd chilling feeling that had plagued my body now returned. An odd giddiness and confidence assaulted me. Well then, the show is over for now, heroes. Few is out. See you in memory lane. I then fell backwards off the building, facing the heroes that just burst through the door. What the F are you saying? Memory lane. Nonsense. But that doesn't make sense. Oh my god, shut it. The smoke covered my vision. I braced myself in case I actually do hit the ground again and possibly die for real this time. But no. It felt like I was plunged underwater, ice water. For like 2 seconds, then I was thrown out of that water and landed in someone's arms. My legs on one arm and my back on the other. Bridal style. I snuggled whoever it was, burying my face in what I think is their neck. Not caring who it was. Whistling from someone else in the room. Stitch Face got his little princess. So cute. Toga squealed. What the F? Get your burnt nugget fingers off my cousin. Shigaraki yelled in his childish voice. Stitch Face. Burnt nugget fingers. Wait a minute. My eyes flew open, pulling away from his neck to see his pink face. The blush going all the way down to what I could see of his neck. I blushed too, burying my face in the crook of his neck again to hide my shame. He stumbled a bit on his feet. I could feel him swallow in embarrassment. When I said catch him, I didn't mean catch him like that. Shiggy shouted again. I could feel his heart beat since, well, We were kind of flush against each other. My arms were wrapped around his neck, which pulled us closer together, too close. Wow, he's strong. And smells nice.